morning and welcome to the pre-show show of our Sunrise Safari. How are you doing back there, Jandre? You are... Well, he's still on the back. That's a good sign. I managed to remember him. We're having a good chuckle this morning, remembering the time that Brent drove off in the dark one morning, did all of his checks, and then was wondering why Jandre was ignoring him, only to realize that Jandre was still back at camp, which, in his defense, you can't actually see when this light is on and it's dark. You can't see behind you, but it was relatively amusing when we heard him burst out laughing from about 500 meters away. He was well on his way down Gallagher shortcut before he remembered that he actually needed a cameraman. Jandre, I haven't forgotten you.
I was heartbroken.
Were you heartbroken? I don't blame you. I would have been heartbroken. Right. Now we need to decide exactly what we're going to do, because poor Brent is without comms this morning. He can't hear the dulcet tones of Rebecca, who is directing this morning's show. Bex, I don't know if you copied anything that Brent said, but he's on his way back to DR. Oh, he's there. Yes, I know, I can see him. Thank you, Rebecca. Here we... Oh, there's a pole in the way. There we go. There they are. Here's Eggsy, shuffling about. They're back at the DRC trying to sort out their comms issues. We're looking for the Lions this morning. Brent's going to go and follow up on the magnificent Queen of Djuma. But we'll go into all of that in detail when the actual show starts. Still a bit befuddled by these pre-show shows. Do you think we're going to see a baby impala today, Jandre?
No.
No, you don't.
But a woodland.
We're going to see a woodlands. Didn't Byron say he heard one?
Yeah, we heard one on the dam one. I think I saw one before that, but in flight. So
Ah. Okay, so we've got a woodlands mission.
I would prefer tomorrow because my money was on the 21st.
Your money was on the 21st. It's today the 20th. This is a good bet. Mine's long gone. In fact, I've missed all of my dates. Ah, Beckles is on the 30th.
Sorry, Bex.
Sorry, Bex. People have started to hear the not to work out that way.
What is the best exactly term? Does it have to be shown on the drive? Or spot one or hear one?
It's on camera. That's what I feel is the criteria, because otherwise it gets very confusing. It has to be.
Not to see it.
My date's long gone. Blurry, sorry. You'll accidentally not see. It's all blurry. This exact spot, this exact clearing is where I very first saw the Birmingham boys.
Exactly.
Remember that?
It's still here.
Little one, how are you doing?
Very small Birmingham.
Very small Birmingham. Mini Birmingham. Look how wonderfully strong you're looking. Oh, that's such a nice sight. Hey, gorgeous. Well done. Whew, that's a really very positive sight.
Bless you.
Oh, excuse me. That was a surprise. That definitely took me by surprise. Well, it seems as though... Wait, Rebecca, am I wrapping up the pre-show show and then going live, or is Brent out? What? Yes, Brent is out. Okie dokie. Bye-bye, everybody. See you soon.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
what a fantastic start to the early morning here in the African bush. We have a female leopard in the low bough of a marula tree. This is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in South Africa. And what an absolutely gorgeous way to start the morning with the Queen of Djuma, Karula. And she made a kill just after we left last night. Apparently we're having some audio issues. We'll try to sort them out. Is it on? Are we all sorted? Yes, we're all sorted. So just after we left her, she moved on about another 100 meters and caught a bushbuck right next to the lodge, or actually right next to Yuri's house. As you can see, Yuri, the owner of Djuma, there's his house, there's the fence. Now, she keeps looking down towards the dam, and of course, I know there was a male lion around there at some point earlier this morning. But I can't see the lion now, but the monkeys can see Karula, the squirrels can see Karula, and there's a cacophony of alarm calls going on behind me. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Well, you can actually see, let's just move forward a little bit so we can show you the noisy bunch. So there's the squirrel that can see Karula on the branch there, making lots of noise. And of course we have Eggsy, so it's a blurry safari today, only joking. There we go, there's the squirrel who's very upset about Karula's presence. And the monkeys are even more upset. And if we look a little bit further to the left past the radio mast in there, that's where all the monkeys are calling. There we go, you can see that one sitting there. Got him, Eggs, there we go. Leopard, 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 leopard. Leopard, 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 leopard. Leopard, 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 leopard. Remember, this is 100% live. You're enjoying these wonderful scenes at the exact same time as we are. And remember, you can use the hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv to ask us about what we're seeing. Now, Karula has not yet fetched young Hosana and Shongile. She's had quite a meal. Let's have a look how much of the bushbuck she's eaten. I'm not sure how old. Oh, it looks like it might be an Inyala. Oh, let's have a bit of a closer look. She hasn't yet hoisted the carcass. Whoopsie. And here it is lying at the base of the tree here. And it is a baby Inyala. So not an adult. Well, she's eaten a fair bit, but not too much. Still plenty there for the little ones. Good morning, Queen Karula. Okay, let's move back around. Are you going to go fetch your babies now? Can we follow you while you fetch your babies, Queen Karula? So I'm pretty sure young Hosana and Shongile are in the same spot we had them yesterday. Isn't this absolutely wonderful way to start the morning? I do feel... Oh, look at her ears all flat. Upset that the monkeys have spotted her. Upset that the squirrel has spotted her, making so much of the noise. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm trying to remember when it was, but it must have been almost this time last year when we saw another leopard in this very tree. And that was, of course, Karula's last successful litter, one of them. Mr. Quarantine had an impala in this tree. Now, yesterday was Saturday, Catterday, but it seems like Sunday is trying to be Catterday as well. Let's go see what Jamie's found.
And a very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the Sunday version of yesterday's Catterday, starting off with leopards and now with our beloved pride of lions. What a fantastic way to start off the Sunrise Safari. And first thing I'm going to say is we have 6 gorgeous little Nkuhuma cubs. I could not be happier. There are 6 of them here. So a very good morning to all of you. My name is Jamie. This morning I have Jandre on camera with me. Look, that was Jandre's thumb. That's all we really see of the cameraman for the most part, unless we put them on camera. Oh, there you go. I've just seen the tip of Jandre's shoe. Let's get back to the business at hand. The Nkuhumas are all grouped together. We've got 5 lionesses. There is 1 cub suckling off to the left. A little one. They still look a little bit thin, but this is fantastic news. The fact that there are 6 of them here is a very, very positive sign. There's 2 of them, there's 2 of them suckling over there, with a third one lying off at the back. And then there's 2 of them that are sort of hidden behind a tree right now. I can't show you them, but there are 6 Nkuhuma cubs, all present and accounted for. This is fantastic. We've got all 5 lionesses as well. I'm still getting to, since I have just arrived in the sighting, I'm still coming to grips with exactly which lionesses we have here. I mean, which one is where. And I've been giving them a little bit of extra space. We spoke about this yesterday morning. And the fact that whatever's caused this situation, but the fact that some of the lionesses are struggling a little bit in terms of walking, I don't want to make them feel pressured or scared in any way. It's just, even though we know our Nkuhumas incredibly well, they've become incredibly relaxed in our company. To push forward now, they are essentially an injured animal. So rather than go any closer, we're just going to keep giving them space. We're going to watch and see exactly where they go. Really interesting that they killed 2 buffalo 2 days ago, eaten one, and as far as I could tell, they've left the other to the vultures. They haven't returned there at all. It really, truly is fascinating that that's been the case. And I don't know why exactly it is. It's almost as though, actually, I don't even know what it is, that they haven't gone back to that buffalo. I mean, they're all sporting, they were yesterday, they were all sporting enormous bellies, looking very full and very happy. Well, not very happy with life, but very full at least. So perhaps it's just that they're going to go there a little bit later. And perhaps they lost it to the hyenas, because I have heard hyena calling this morning, which would be a really lovely sight to see. And in fact, we might go and investigate what's happening with that buffalo carcass in a little bit on our Sunrise Safari. And thank you so much to those of you who sent through the update on the male lion roaring on the dam camera. I was actually just doing a cursory check of this road before heading off in search of him. But I can't go across the dam wall, so I had to go all the way around anyway. So I just thought we'd pop round through here, check on the Nkuhumas, and then go back to the search for him in a moment. Guessing it was Mfumo, since he was here yesterday, but it could be any one of the Birmingham boys roaring away. It's such a nice sound to wake up to. I wonder whether or not we're going to see any hyena today as well. I just feel like this is such a good day. With 6 cubs, now I'm feeling like we might get lucky with hyena as well. It's not just Brent and myself in the vehicles. Byron is out on foot, which is, of course, one of the best ways to explore the African bush. Let's head across so that he can say good morning.
Morning, Mobile Station. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's great to be here on a bushwalk. My first bushwalk with Safari Live, so I'm very, very excited. I've got VM on camera with me this morning, and always Herbert with the rifle and just an extra pair of eyes out. And it's a beautiful morning. It really is a beautiful morning, and we've just been walking around trying to see what we can find and start talking about some of the smaller things that we might get on the bushwalk. I've heard some rattling testiculars calling while we've been walking. They've just stopped now, unfortunately, possibly just alarm calling at us. And then as we were walking along, we could hear the monkeys alarm calling, and I think they're possibly where Brent is with Karula. I think they may have spotted her and they've been alarm calling at her. So there's a lot of sounds going on around, which is great. Now it's just a case of finding some animals. And some of the smaller things. Let's see. I'd love to actually walk into some elephant this morning. I don't know how Herbert and VM feel about it, but I would love to see some elephant on foot and hopefully show them to you. So let's see. And of course some tracks. Who knows what tracks we can find this morning. Trying to see if there's anything around here at the moment. No, there's just a lot of antelope tracks in the soft sand just off to the side, but no sign of anything nocturnal walking around here. Don't see anything just yet. And what an exciting morning. It sounds like Jamie has managed to get or see 6 of the cubs, I understand. I'm not sure now. And again, it's difficult for us to sometimes see whether or not these cubs are all around, because I think what happens is, especially when they are sick, they get hidden in drainage lines and we don't always see them until the lionesses go and fetch 1 or 2 of them. Especially if they are weaker, they do not move around as much. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out during the course of the day and see what's going on with these cubs and the Nkuhuma Pride, which is very, very exciting. I'm trying to think, what else have we got around here? Let's just come have a look over here and just see, these little old tree stumps and stick piles, and they're always great to go through just to see if we don't find anything interesting, little insects. Trying to see if there's anything that I can spot. It's still quite cool, so maybe not too much activity. Might get little termites and that around here. And as we saw last night, we managed to spot a scorpion in a tree. Let's see, here we go. Let's have a look. Don't want to disturb too much of it. We've got a little abandoned spider web just over here. Old spider web you can see. Just over there. And hang on, what is this? Oh, this is interesting, everybody. Let's have a look here. Hang on. Let me try to put this in my hand so you can see it a bit better. Just trying to have a good look. So if you have a look, let me hold it here for you. I'm trying to see, this is an exoskeleton of sorts that I've just found under this little piece of wood or bark, and it's very, very old and brittle. It looks like possibly a scorpion exoskeleton, maybe a small scorpion that died. It looks like a bit of the abdomen. I did think I saw a part of a pincer, but it's very, very old. So not that clear, but it is interesting. It just shows you all these little things that you can find under the bark of some dead trees and that. As we're walking around and looking at this is basically a micro ecosystem. There's so much that goes on here and so much wildlife, mainly insects obviously, but so much that lives in and around these areas. It's very, very important. So we do see a lot of trees being pushed over by elephant and that. And people often think that the elephants doing this damage is a bad thing, but it creates these micro ecosystems for other animals. Some of the antelope will live underneath. You'll get a lot of insects, birds, all living in that scrub that causes. And Chris, you wanted to know how far we are away from the cats. I'm trying to think now. We're not that far, Chris. We probably about 500 meters or so. Not sure where the Nkuhuma Pride is at the moment, but he wanted to know if we're scared. No, we walk in the opposite direction, so we're going to be staying away from them. But generally, cats don't bother you too much if you're on foot. They do prefer to move away, as long as you don't surprise them. So we're not too scared, I wouldn't say that, but we are obviously always very, very careful. I think let's head back to find out what some of those cats are doing right now.
Queen Karula has jumped down from her perch, and I'm hoping she's about to hoist this baby Inyala, and then I think she might head off in search of Shongile and Hosana, and hopefully we're going to be able to follow her while she does that. Now, with this set of cubs, I haven't seen her with a kill this close to human habitation before. And Karula, we know, is completely relaxed in the presence of the lodge, as we can see. But will the cubs be as relaxed? It's going to be a fascinating little segment here. Now, as I said, she's not with the cubs. We saw the cubs yesterday, and we actually saw her yesterday hunting not too far from here. So Joao is wondering, is it common for a mother leopard to leave her cubs overnight alone? It is very common. If the cubs are with her, it makes hunting very difficult. They generally get spotted or cause a bit of havoc by playing and moving at the wrong time. So it is very common for a mother leopard to leave her cubs for up to 2 or 3 days. She's only left them for not even a day, and she's such a successful hunter that she's already caught something else. And it is a baby Inyala, so not the biggest thing in the world, but nevertheless a good healthy meal for Queen Karula and her progeny. Now, there was a male lion not far from here, so she keeps looking down towards where that male lion was. I'm not sure where he's moved off to. But we are really hoping that she is going to lift this carcass and then walk off to fetch the cubs. And generally what happens then, we could be in for a bit of a treat, because the cubs will be able to smell the fact that she's made a fresh kill, and it is a nice early morning, so they could be very boisterous and playful. Now, that little Inyala probably weighs about, well, she's eaten quite a bit of it, taken the stomach out, so probably weighs about 10 or 12 kilograms. Lord Kifferon is wondering how much weight relative to her body weight is she able to lift. In theory, leopards are able to lift 10% more than their body weight, which would be, in her case, probably around, I guess she's around 40 kilograms, 45 kilograms. So in theory, 55 kilograms, but she's quite an old leopard, so that probably doesn't apply. I'd say we've comfortably seen her lift 20, 25 kilograms. I think anything over 30 at this stage of her life would probably be a little bit much for her. Monkeys are still very upset with her presence. And shouting to the world. Now, the sun is about to pop over the eastern horizon, or the eastern set of trees, so we could get some beautiful light on her shortly. Oh, there we go. Oh, I thought she was going to pick up the carcass. Now, especially with the presence of a male lion being around, I don't think the Nkuhumas are too far away from us where Jamie is. It's definitely going to be in her interest to hoist that kill, especially if she's off to fetch the cubs. Now, leopards don't always hoist their kills. In the Sabi Sands, they generally do because of the high predator density. Oh no, well, let me see. It's going to prove me wrong. Now, what she might be doing is sniffing around, trying to see. She's going for her morning ablution. But quite often you'll see leopards and other big cats try cover up the stomach content. In doing that, they're just trying to dampen the smell. So obviously if the wind's up, the smell of that stomach content can waft through the African bush and attract other predators, such as lions and hyenas, or even possibly another leopard. Male leopards are great thieves of carcasses from females. Like the general rule out here in the African bush is, if you're bigger, you can take it. So noisy, the monkeys. Now, we have seen Krula leave carcasses on the ground quite frequently. It almost looks that she's pondering, do I put it in the tree before I fetch the babies, or do I fetch the babies first? Now, she's looking in the direction. Now, the cubs are quite far from here. Oh no, she's decided she's going to rest and ponder what to do next. Oh. So while we sit with the Queen of Djuma, while she ponders what her next move is going to be, let's go see what's happening with the incredible Nkuhumas.
While the Queen of Djuma ponders what she's going to do with her morning and how she's going to approach it, we are still with the incredible Nkuhumas, waiting for the sun to rise so that we can really enjoy the beauty of these particular cats. Now, Amber Eyes is giving her toes a thorough clean, a very thorough clean. That paw is probably spotless after the attentions that she's given it this morning. She's cleaned each claw sheath. You can see her claws sticking out there a little bit. Here you go, girl. Right in between the toes, getting to all of the ticks that might have settled there, any kind of burrs or something similar. Hey, gorgeous. Now, Amber Eyes, of course, was the one that to me, one of the lionesses that to me yesterday was not walking particularly well. And we discussed the possibility that it was all part of what struck down the two cubs that have died, or if it was possibly a coincidental injury. It seemed a little bit odd that 3 of the 5 lionesses were essentially displaying exactly the same symptoms. Now, Amber Eyes seemed to be the worst, and I'm hoping at some point she's going to get up and we can see whether or not she's any better. I think they're going to be. I honestly think that buffalo meal has made the difference. The fact that the 6th cub has returned is such an encouraging sign. I think they're going to pull through. I think they're going to be absolutely fine. And I'm sure all of you at home are feeling exactly the same. Such a relief to know that our incredible Nkuhumas have shown themselves to be incredible once again and seem to be kicking whatever it is that has afflicted them. For anybody that has joined these safaris for the first time, the 2 cubs, the preliminary results that came back from the autopsies conducted on the 2 cubs that died seem to suggest something known as white muscle disease, which is a deficiency of vitamin E and sort of by proxy as selenium as well, and caused massive weakness in their muscles. And that automatically sort of created this collapsing of the back legs and of the bottoms and the tails. But the fact that we've got the missing cub, because one of the cubs disappeared and wasn't moving, and I think Brent heard it and couldn't find it. I'm not sure exactly whether or not where exactly it was, but I think it was probably not too far away from where we are now, close to the old hyena den. And the fact that the missing cub has returned is really a very positive sign. Perhaps they just needed that particular buffalo meal to help them on their way to healing. They did also kill 2 buffalo the night before we saw Amber Eyes limping, although Brent said that he noticed that she was walking a little bit stiffly a couple of days ago. Now, it's nice to see that she is still looking healthy. We just have to, look at her morning yoga. She seems positively... I always find it amazing, a cat's ability to do that. Makes my hamstrings hurt at the thought. That left back leg has had one thorough clean. So we're just waiting to see if Amber Eyes gets up. We are reporting all of the information and all that we observe, including clips, to the little Franklin. Come bobbing along. But yes, just to finish that thought, we are reporting everything that we see and sending through the clips that we have recorded to the authorities. We will, as soon as we know what the conclusion is, we will let you know. Crested Franklin, slowly but surely bobbing towards the lions. They tend not to be terribly concerned about the presence of lions. They don't feel particularly threatened. I think they know that their reaction times are quick enough to move out of their way, and that for the most part a lion is not going to waste energy chasing a Franklin. Cub maybe, just out of playfulness, but it's unlikely. I'm pretty sure that this crested Franklin knows exactly what's potting this morning, knows there are lions there, and isn't terribly concerned. Going about morning breakfast. It is a truly beautiful morning. Oh, it's going to be absolutely stunning. Lovely. Nkuma's resting up. I would like to reposition, but I noticed earlier when we moved in, the anxious look in their eyes when we moved a little bit further in. And good morning to Mary. You were wondering, having just seen Amber Eyes cleaning her paws, whether or not if a lion gets a thorn in its foot, it will pull the thorn out, or if it will fall out naturally on its own. It depends on the thorn, really. So, Mary, yes, they can pull a thorn out, although they're not necessarily always very good at it. And occasionally what they do, especially when they're rasping, and perhaps those of you with pets will have experienced this before, sometimes the licking motion and the nibbling motion, they don't quite get it right. It's not like they have a ready-made set of tweezers. Their teeth are built for slightly more bulky operations. And sometimes they push the thorn further into the pad of the foot, and then they've just got to wait for it to fall out naturally. Obviously, the body does what the body does best, which is treat it as a foreign object, build up, send out a whole load of white blood cells, and that pus build-up will eventually push it out of the skin. And very seldom, but every now and again, a thorn injury can actually severely debilitate an animal. It becomes very difficult for them to walk. It gets very nastily infected. But that is very, very unusual. And for the most part, they are quite good at navigating what can only be described as a rather thorny environment. Now, I think we're all waxing lyrical about the beauty of this morning's morning. Let's head across to Byron so that you can have a look at it from a different perspective.
We've just found a little bark spider, everybody, but it's running away from us. I don't want to actually disturb it or pick it up. And there, it's gone and sitting right on that little stick there now. And beautiful little bark spider. Small, that's a very, very small little bark spider. They usually get much, much bigger. That's obviously just a young one, I would assume. But interesting to see, and that is typical bark spider behavior. Well, what they do, and I think we've got some of the nest here, but can you still see it there? Very, very well camouflaged. Oh, look at that, incredible, just hiding on that branch. As I said, very, very well camouflaged, and what these bark spiders do, which I find so fascinating, we can actually see it over here, is they've built, this little one has built this web, which might be a bit tricky to see, but it has caught something in the middle of the web over here. Looks like a little insect of sorts. It looks quite fresh actually, so I think that bark spider may come out again later and feed on this. But what I find fascinating with the bark spiders is they build these webs, and especially the larger ones, they build these massive webs, and generally they do build them across the roads, and you'll see these beautiful webs that they build during the course of the evening. They're generally nocturnal, so they build this web across a road, And what happens is then during the evening there are more insects flying about. They'll catch some food, and while they're catching these insects, they then feed on that during the evening. And then early in the morning, these bark spiders will come out and they actually feed on the web again to get the protein and that back from what they've used on the web. They'll feed on it, and then they head back up to the branch, just like we saw that little one now. Moves back up to the branch and they sit on it, and they're so well camouflaged. It looks like possibly just two little thorns or notch or node on the branch, and they sit down and they'll hide there for the day. During the course of the day, in the evening, they'll come out and spin a web again. Now, I've watched them actually do that, and it takes half an hour for an entire web to be spun. It's absolutely incredible. They are fascinating little spiders. I do love them. So really, really nice to see that little one. But they can get much larger. Some of the bark spiders I've seen have been about this size, so quite big, and that is a very, very small one, but definitely a little bark spider. That's lovely. Oh, knees. I'm getting a bit old, I think, have you? Let's head over. We'll catch up with Herbert a little bit, and we'll see what else we can find. We're walking through an area at the moment where there's a lot of terminalias or silver cluster leaf. As I say that, I'm trying to find one. There's one straight over here. If you have a look, come have a look over here, everyone. This is beautiful, beautiful tree. It's like a silver cluster leaf grove that we're walking through at the moment. That's this beautiful tree right here. What I find interesting about these trees is that they do indicate a seep line, which basically means water will rise to the surface in this area, so it gets very, very wet around here. And in the rainy seasons, you usually try and avoid these areas because if you are driving through here with the vehicle, then you can get bogged down quite badly. So terminalia or silver cluster leaf is a good indicator that there might be a lot of water around. And also what I find fascinating is that this tree, what a lot of locals would use is they would strip the bark off. I don't want to do too much of it, but there we go. This is quite dry at the moment, but part of it, they would strip the bark off, and what they do is they actually twine it together and they use it as a rope, and that's what they would use some of this silver cluster leaf for. And they would use it to tie down perhaps houses or roofs or anything in the that they needed within and around their little community or their little village. And so this is a very good tree for them, the silver cluster leaf. And beautiful, you can see there is a bit of a silvery shine to these leaves. They've got beautiful, beautiful leaves. And then it's nice to walk through these areas and see what else we can find with these little insects like that little spider, and who knows. I'm very excited because, like I said, it's my first bushwalk on Safari Live, so it's good to have you with me and to try and show you a little bit of what I've learned by walking in the bush over the years. But while we carry on, let's head back to Brent. He's still with Karula. Let's see what she's up to.
Well, the Queen of Djuma is still contemplating what to do next. There she is. Look at that, very regal. Paws crossed over each other. Monkeys still shouting incessantly. So are the squirrels. Look at that. What a wonderful pose. Enjoying some peace and quiet before she fetches the rugrats. Now, of course, the Nkumas aren't too far, and there was a male lion down next to the Djuma Dam earlier. B. Wilson's wondering, well, because there are lions around, is that possibly why she's not fetching the cubs? Probably not. I think she's eaten quite a bit, so she's resting up before fetching the cubs. And she's pretty good at avoiding lions, and so will the cubs be at this age. Now she's looking towards where the monkeys are, shouting away. I think as those cubs get bigger, they do get quite boisterous, and she's just taking a moment to herself. She might also be waiting for the monkeys to move off before she moves on with all that alarm calling. She doesn't want to draw any more attention to herself. Hey, Karulf. It is such a lovely pose in this early morning light. Very, very, very dignified with her feet folded over. Now, if you're a queen, that's how you're supposed to sit. What do you think, Eggs? Yeah. Yes, that's a very queen-like posture from Karula. A squirrel is going incessantly, can barely take a breath. Hi, Madison. Madison's wondering what is the tree that Karula is next to. Well, the one she's right next to there is a well-fed on red bush willow. The elephants have broken down a bit. There we go. And the big tree that the carcass is underneath, there we go, is a marula tree. Now, I really hope she decides during some point in this sunrise safari to take us on a trip to fetch Hosana and Shongile, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be extra playful after being without Mom for a while, and also smelling the fresh kill on her. Oh, monkeys. Leopard, leopard. Leopard, leopard. And the squirrel's going, leopard, 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 leopard. And it's so quick between the calls, it really doesn't sound like it's even taking a breath. And Karula the dignified, ignoring them all. Now, of course, animals that would steal her kill, lions, hyenas, maybe another leopard, wild dogs. And Jenny's wondering whether the monkeys would eat her kill if she left. I don't think so, Jenny. I think they would definitely try and stay as far away from it, just in case she returned, as possible. Monkeys are omnivores. I've never actually seen them scavenge off a carcass, though. But baboons, on the other hand, if they were to arrive, they would chase her off and definitely steal her kill. Now, the monkeys have a good reason to be paranoid, as Crystal's wondering, has Karula ever hunted monkey before? We've actually seen her a few times with monkey carcasses, and if the opportunity arises, she would definitely hunt a monkey. Well, I think it's a double-edged sword, that one. She gets food, and she gets a bit of revenge at all the shouting that she gets. Now, monkeys have actually come closer, which is not uncommon when they can see a leopard, but staying up in the tree. See them there, just past the aerial, and there, a little bit lower, a little bit to the right. There's a silver cluster leaf. There we go. You got him. A little bit right. A little bit more right? A little bit lower? There we go. Now, quite often, this is very similar to mobbing behavior that you would see in birds. And basically, they're hoping with all the shouting that she's going to move out of the area. Of course, she's not, because she's got the carcass next to her. She's maintaining her dignified posture. Remember, this is 100% live, and you're joining us with this incredible female leopard, live from South Africa in the Greater Kruger National Park. 8.5 million acres of unfenced, untrammeled wilderness for the animals. And fortunately, we're some of the lucky animals that get to live out here in this wonderful African bushveld. And if you're new and want to ask any questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or questions@wildearth.tv via email. Now, we're going to keep waiting here to see if the dignified queen either hoists her carcass or goes off to fetch the kids. While we do that, let's go see how Byron's first bushwalk is going.
And we've just found something interesting that I wanted to show you. And have a look at this, everybody. You can see how the soil has been dug up around here. And this has actually been done by an elephant. And if you look closely, and let me show you just over here, you can actually see the track, the elephant track around here. And have a look, you can see the wrinkles underneath the pad of the elephant that it's left behind. This is quite fresh. Looks like possibly early this morning or last night sometime. And what this elephant has done, and it's incredible how they do this. This looks like a very large bull. And I'm saying that purely because I don't see signs of any other elephant around here. So it's possibly a male that is by himself. And there's a very large track over here. So what this elephant has done is he's walked over and he's come and he's put his foot down and he started to kick the soil. And the reason he does this is to loosen some roots and possibly get to some shoots. And I think that's what he's been doing. Now I just want to have a look. Here we go. Here's a little tube of sorts that the elephant could possibly have wanted to feed on. And not just the elephant, but you'd also get obviously porcupine in that, digging up little roots and shoots that they would feed on. And something like this would be very, very tasty for them. So I think that's what this elephant has fed on over here. And we've got some ticks crawling around. Let's have a look here. Look at that, everyone. Oh. See if I can get that one out. There we go. Falling off there, I want to stay on the knife. So a few ticks wandering about in the soil. So those little ticks will wait for insects to come and lie there. You can see it crawling nicely there. They'll wait for animals to come and lie down or roll around in the sand like wildebeest do. You know, they will go and dust bathe. That's a good example of a species that does. Oh, look here. There's a little grasshopper right here. Oh, there we go. Come here. Oh, just jumping away from us. Beautiful little grasshopper. Wonderful. There's so much going on here at the moment, and that's what I love about this. You know, we stop to look at something just like an elephant scratcher, where an elephant has dug up roots and shoots, and you find all these little insects like this little grasshopper, those little ticks. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful. But I've got something very interesting that I'd like to show you that is also close by. Just have a look over here. Now, there's two clear digging or two little holes that have been dug up by a creature. And this is a creature that we don't see very often. but it is unmistakable. I know exactly what this is. This has been done by an aardvark, everyone, which is wonderful because we don't see aardvark very often here, and to see signs of them is always very, very interesting and great. So what's happened is this aardvark, which is mainly a nocturnal animal, has been wandering around during the course of the evening looking for potentially termites and ants that they feed on. And what it's done is it's come and dug this hole. Now, they're incredible diggers. I actually want to see if I can show you just over here on the edge of this hole. You can see some of the claw marks, or the toes rather, of the aardvark. There are 3 clear or distinct toes that you can see in the sand when they do stand around or dig like this. And the other thing, and here's a nice one over here. That's a very interesting one. There you can see the toe quite clearly down there. That's one of them. There's another one over there. And then if you look in the actual digging site where they've dug, you can see the claw marks. So their toes and their claws are almost as thick as my finger, if you have a look there. So it's dug through there and around there and off to the side. Incredible diggers. This doesn't look like a very, very large aardvark that has dug around here. And I'm just trying to look, and look here, everybody, here we go. Here's some termites. So that's why that aardvark was digging here. Do you see that? Wonderful. So, and while I'm down and close to this, I can smell the soil. It's very, very fresh. This was from last night, or early this morning. The soil is still moist, and these termites are still crawling around. So that's why that aardvark dug here specifically, was to get to those termites. It's amazing how they can find these termites and dig them up and feed on them. They've got these long tongues which come out, and they'll lick up the termites. But very interesting. So this looks like a small aardvark. I'm saying that because of the space between the legs. Now, one leg would have been here, 1 foot over here, and just one over here. So not a very large. I would say this aardvark was probably about this size, maybe a bit bigger, around about there. And also, judging by the size of the hole that it's dug, it hasn't dug a very deep hole or very wide. So I'm assuming this is a smaller aardvark, and the tail actually ran back here. You can see clearly where the tail was resting. So judging by the size of where the tail is and where the head was, it was not a very, very large aardvark. And they can get much bigger. I've seen aardvark get to about this size. Really, really big animals. Well, for what they feed on, they can get very large, feeding on just termites like that. But this looks like quite a small one, which is so lovely that they are around. And the only aardvark I've seen within the Sabi Sands, I've seen 2. One was being fed on by lions, unfortunately, and the other one was being fed on by a leopard. A leopard actually killed one and hoisted it up into a tree. And so it was very sad for us because we've never seen it, or I've never seen a live aardvark in this area. But there are always signs of them being around. So they are definitely around here. Which is interesting. It's great. Just very shy nocturnal animals like the pangolin, which I know Safari Live have seen a pangolin. But a lot of these animals are very hard to find and hard to see. Anyway, we're going to continue. Let's head over to Jamie and see what the lions are up to.
The birds on this beautiful morning are particularly cheerful. I feel like I have to shout over the volume of the screeches of the crested francolin, one of which nearly flew into the car. It went flapping off in our direction. The lionesses all looked up at us in amusement, what I imagined to be amusement, as the francolin had to do some frantic flapping in order to avoid landing on my bonnet, which would have been a very interesting experience indeed. We've been sitting with these lions. I don't think that they... Oh, hold on. Somebody's stretching. I think that's the young lioness. Unless I'm very much mistaken. It's a bit difficult to tell from the back of her head, but I think it's the young lioness. She's up. Okay, I'm going to hold back on what I was about to say, which was that I was going to start moving off. Oh. Flop. Right next to Amber Eyes. But yes, I might leave them. I might go and examine what's happening with that buffalo carcass. I've been listening very, very carefully just to see, or listen, really, for any sounds of hyenas feeding, because that would be a very exciting sighting, seeing as I've pretty much almost forgotten what a hyena looks like. But it's all been quiet since the first few hyena whoops. Now, Chris, you were wondering if the Nkuhuma Pride were to be depleted, and I'm going to preface this by saying I don't think they are going to be. I think they're all going to recover, and I think particularly the adults are going to be absolutely fine. And the fact that they've pulled through and the fact that the missing cub has turned up is really, really positive news and really looking good. However, hypothetically, if they were to be depleted, you're wondering if perhaps the hyena clan might come and sort of move back into this area and claim the Nkuhuma's territory. I'm not sure. We put forward the supposition that the hyenas had moved from this area because there was such a high concentration of lions, and because the Nkuhumas had their cubs in this particular spot, and therefore might have been a little bit more defensive of this area and more of a threat to the hyenas than they might otherwise be. But who knows? There might have been other factors involved as well. They seem to be having a wonderful time north of our boundary on Manyaleti, in the Manyaleti, around Dixie Koppies. Apparently the guides there have been enjoying some fantastic sightings with them. So I don't know. It's one of those difficult things that would be impossible to predict. Maybe. I mean, it's interesting that the hyena clan, it seems very coincidental that the hyena clan's always used these hyena dens, or at least over the last 2 years, that they've now moved off, and it's probably due to the lions. And that is what happens with lions. When you get high concentrations of lions, the other predators tend to suffer or tend to move out. My suspicion is also that that's one of the reasons why Karula has spent as much time as she has a little bit further to the south of us. And she seems to have, of all of the places, she's a very clever girl, of all of the places in this area, that area that she moves around in, the sort of northern boundary of Little Gowrie, the southern part of Djuma, they seem to be relatively lion-free at the moment. Certainly the lions wander through every now and again, but it's not like her living around Galago as she has in the past, where essentially these lions have lived for the last 3 months, except on our TV show. The last 3 months they've been here, but for our TV appearance, they went 100 meters north into Buffelshoek property, where we can't go, and then came back the next day. So we all had a good chuckle at the joys of live wildlife filming and the unpredictability. I think it was our fault, we were chatting about the plans for the television show the night before and where we were going to go, and all of us unanimously agreed that there was a 90% chance the Nkuhumas were going to be on Djuma. I can only assume that they overheard us and decided not to be for that particular day. Hey girls, what have you seen? The young lioness is still interested in something off in the distance. She's been watching the whole time. I can't see anything, but I mean, I can barely, at this point, now that we've had some rain, I can't see more than, I would say, about 40 meters, 50 meters into the bush. So I don't quite know what it is she's looking at, but she's looking at something. She does keep glancing across in that direction. She's not too bothered by it. It's not like she's gone into stalk mode or anything like that. Elephants. I haven't seen an elephant in a very long time. I might go look for some elephants this morning as well. No, hold on. It's lions fighting. Sorry, just let me listen. Sorry. Just trying to work out exactly where it was. Shush, Franklin. And those of you who perhaps are keeping half an eye out on the Djuma Dam camera, I know that you heard a little bit of, you saw that lion walking over the dam wall, the male lion. I think that was him. He's roaring, but I think I actually heard the sounds of them scrapping. which happens. We've seen it happen with Brent. I've had it happen in front of us as well. It's usually over a lady, though, so it'd be interesting if they were scrapping right now. But it's just almost their way of having a brotherly conversation, kind of like over rowdy boys. Hurry. I just need to hop onto the Game Drive channel. Somebody's calling me. Last station, sorry. Who are you calling? Negative, Herbie. I'm with the rest of the Pride. Whereabouts? It sounds sort of Gowrie, Cutline, Central side. Standing by yours. Okay, copy that. Thanks very much, yours. Okay. Brent is on his way to apparently it wasn't sounds of lions fighting. It's quite far away from me. It's on the other side of the dam wall. Apparently the elephants were trumpeting. They must have seen the lions, and then the lions started roaring. So Brent, I think from the sounds of things, he is racing across to go and see exactly what's happening there. We'll stick around here, spend a little bit more time with these lions, and then once Brent hopefully reaches his destination, then we'll probably move off for not the rest of the morning. We'll move off, we'll go and see what else we can find, and then we'll come back to these lions. They seem quite intent on the whole sleeping deal this morning. I think I have misheard your name, and for that I do apologize. It sounds like you're saying head up. I might just be from a sort of animal watching perspective. Oh, I did get it right. Amazing. Head up. You wanted to know how close these lions are to the leopard. Well, a very warm welcome to you, and my apologies for not being 100% certain as to your name. You wanted to know how far these lions are. They're probably about, in a straight line, just about a kilometer, maybe fraction less. So what's that? It's about 0.67 miles away from that leopard. Now this morning, that male lion must have walked right past Krula. Sorry, I've parked myself in a position where I'm actually almost staring straight into the sun, so I'm blinking away frantically, squinting at you. I'm sorry about that. So this morning that male lion must have walked straight past Karula, and she was aware of it. However, I think that there's some exciting things happening with Brent. It seems as though he's found the elephants and the lions. Let's go and have a look.
Well, we heard an elephant herd scream in anger, and they got a little baby in there as well. And just after the elephants screamed, the sound of two male lions broke the early morning, and here they are, Mfumo and Tinyo. They're watching, well, Tinyo is watching the elephants quite closely. I thought they might head this way and chase them. I think they've already chased them once this morning. There we go. Oh, Tinyo's going to pop his head down. Now, it just seems there are cats everywhere today. This is our third separate cat sighting of the morning. There you go, that's Mfumo, the authority, and Tinyo the Tooth. Our two male lions we've got here. And look how that scar is healing, or that open wound is healing so nicely. Boys, you're going to give us one more roar. Watching where the elephants are moving. They're moving away from the lions now. What a fantastic start to the morning. Now, we happened to see a very impressive male lion fight a few days ago, and Bill's wondering, are these the two that were battling? I'm pretty sure it was Tinyo and Mfumo. As you can see now that there's no ladies around, they'll be quite amicable with each other. They are part of the same coalition, and they do have a very close bond. Of course, as long as there's no food or females, that bond becomes a little bit tenuous then. But if any other male happened to into the area that was not from the Birmingham Boy Coalition, they would have band together very quickly to get rid of him. And they were roaring together now, which is an incredible sound. We could hear oh, I'm just listening to the sorry, I heard an elephant rumble behind me. Thought they might be coming back in, but they're not. Oh, even here, hyenas. Everyone's talking this morning. Nati would like to know how close we are to these male lions, and Eggsy's going to show you. There we go. That's how close. So probably just over 10 feet, 12 feet, somewhere like that. It's not uncommon for them to be closer from time to time. If we park and they're walking towards us, they can almost touch the side of the car as they come through. And you must remember, they don't see us as human beings in the car. Cars have only been around for about 100 years, so they don't have an instinctive response. So if you drive carefully and considerately around them, you can get very close. Now, it'll be a very big and different story if I was to stand up. They will immediately have an instinctive reaction to the bipedal figure of man. Man has been the dominant diurnal predator for the last 200,000 years. So we rule the daytime, they rule the night. And even if you walk into big male lions, what are you looking at? Lions are elephants. If you walk into big male lions like this on foot during the day, 99.9999% of the time, they're actually going to run off. Now, lions have problem dispelling heat, so if their body temperature raises by even a few degrees, their core body temperature, it can be fatal. So they would rather move away than get into a fight with us during the day, but the moment the sun goes down, that changes. And we all don't realize why we want to go home when it gets dark. It's because instinct's telling us that bad things live in the dark, and you're just going to become dinner if you stay out walking about at night. And so that is why we want to go home, and we want to get safe to our cave. And that's an instinctive response that we evolved as human beings growing up on the African savannah. Now, as you can see, one lion's already flat, and the warmer it gets, the flatter they're going to get. They'll probably not move too far today, just into the shade. Brandon in Rhode Island would like to know how much time do lions spend resting a day? Well, on average, Brandon, about 20 hours out of 24. And even those 4 hours that they are moving, it's not a consecutive 4 hours. They'll normally walk for 20 minutes, sleep for 20 minutes, walk for 10 minutes, sleep for an hour. And a lot of that also depends on how hungry they are. If they've had a good meal, they tend to be even more lazy, and they might sleep or rest for longer than 20 hours a day.
With a buffalo carcass.
Now, the lions in this area have been feasting and focusing on one particular animal, and that is the African buffalo, and that's caused a bit of problems for them, but it seems like Byron has found a permanently retired buffalo.
And the lions have been feasting on the buffalo. I'm not too sure that the lions actually got this buffalo though. And I'll tell you why. There's still a lot of the carcass left. Well, the carcass is still quite intact, if that makes sense. So, bit of a whiff there.
Brenton, if you come back here, I've lost Byron 321. You're alive, you're alive.
Well, we are back. Apparently, Byron's having some gremlin issues. So, guys, I don't know if these lions are going to do too much more now that it is getting warmer. So why don't you let me know by using the hashtag Safari Live, or email us at questions@wildearth.tv. Should we stay with the Lazy Lions, or should we go see if Karula goes to fetch the cubs? So you let me know. This is your game drive, and so I'm going to let you choose which big cat you want to stay with. Those elephants moved off in quite a hurry. Hopefully Jay might catch up with them as they're heading south down the edge of the Mawati River. These Birmingham boys are growing up so nicely. Well, a very good morning to Lisa, who would like to know how old these male lions are and how long will they live for. Well, Lisa, they're in their prime at the moment. They're just over 6 years old. Generally, they will reign supreme over an area for about 4 or 5 years. And in the wild, they can live 12 to 13 years, if they're very lucky. 14. Lionesses live to about 15 normally, but males, because of the heavy competition for prides and territory, generally die a violent death at a much younger age. There were 5 Birmingham boys originally. There were only 4. One of the males was killed, we think, by a buffalo wound to his lungs. He took a horn to the lung, and that caused him to expire. So there are 4 out of the 5 Birmingham males, and that is not uncommon for male lions to expire young. It is a very violent life that they lead, and they've got very, very set priorities, and that is eating and mating. So the mating are very important to pass on their genetic line. That is what they're bred for. Oh, there we go. Snooze time. I think that's what these boys are going to be up to. And I think, well, I'm waiting to hear from you guys. Or should we go back to Karula, or should we stay with these male lions? Okay, well, it seems like everyone wants to go see Queen Karula, so we're going to head back there, and while we do that, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
Aren't we seriously spoilt for choice this morning when we have to choose between, well, we don't really have to choose between lions and leopards. We can go back towards the lions a little bit later, but for now I've left them. Interestingly enough, that buffalo carcass is the second buffalo carcass from the 2 days ago. It's completely untouched. The vultures have given up because they can't get into the carcass itself, so they've set about and have picked clean the one that the Nkuhumas were feeding off yesterday. I didn't linger too long. It was a bit smelly, and to be honest, I think we've seen enough dead buffalo to last us a lifetime at the moment. So I've left the buffalo carcass, and we're going to move on. No hyenas, which was a little bit disappointing. I was really hoping, but we would have heard them. We would have heard them feeding and cackling at each other. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go and check Sandy Patch for those hyena that were calling, because they were calling. They might be on their way back towards the Manuleti. Don't run, don't run. Stop for a moment to look at this duiker. They're such fascinating little antelope, and they hardly ever stand still long enough for us to properly look at them. Looks like a little male. You can just see his horns, sharp and dagger-like, sticking out of the top of his head. Now, although these are particularly small antelope, that doesn't mean that they are completely defenseless. And they can use those horns to great effect when it comes to fighting each other and fighting off predators. Although when faced with a leopard of Karula's skill, it is something very difficult. I had a thought, having seen Karula's cub and having seen Hosana kill that baby Inyala that Karula caught. I did have a thought, and I wondered about whether or not there's method to Karula's approach to teaching her cubs. And what I mean by that is, would she have relinquished the hold on that kill as easily if it had been a male duiker, for example? Does she know exactly, she probably does know exactly what her cubs are capable of holding and what they aren't? Or would she have done it regardless and just been on standby in case the antelope managed to break free. I mean, I spoke about the horns a little moment ago, and they could actually do some serious damage if correctly placed, and for a leopard without any experience, as her cubs don't have any at all, or have only just started getting their experience, it could actually be quite dangerous. I wonder what her approach would have been if it were a different scenario, if she'd caught a male Dacre instead of a baby Inyala. Would she have let go? I don't know. I actually suspect probably not. I think she's done this well, we know she's raised cubs successfully a few times, and I think she knows exactly how to go about keeping them safe. Look at those horns. You can see just how incredibly sharp they are. There's been 1 or 2 human-related Dacre injuries, just accidental injuries, people hand-feeding them, which is why we're always very careful to caution people against hand-feeding the antelope that get very used to the presence of humans, particularly in Nyala and Bushbuck, and warthog as well, actually. But in terms of the ones that live around lodges and around gardens, it's always a very dangerous thing to start that process, because even with a little baby antelope, you might not know if it's a male or a female. And once they start to grow horns, it could even be a completely unintentional upward thrust of the head, and they could do some really serious damage to even a fully grown human being. So for those of you that perhaps have been through to lodges and so on, just be aware, just be very careful of feeding wild animals. Even something as innocuous looking as a mongoose. Don't do it. They bite hard. As we start heading a little bit to the west towards Sydney's Dam, I'm a tad concerned about my signal, but hopefully it will hold out. Oh, yay, Impala, let's go look for babies. Sorry, Donna, you, just quickly before we get to the Impala, you wanted to know when the last time we saw actually saw a hyena was. I have no idea. When was the last time? I don't even know when the last time was that I saw a hyena. I have this funny feeling it might have been on Cheetah Plains, drinking from 3 in a row pan, and then moving off into some dense vegetation. I honestly, I'm not 100% sure. It does feel like it was a really long time ago since I last saw a hyena. Okay. Will today be the day? Gendre is hoping not, because Gendre's bet was for tomorrow that we're going to see the first baby. He's a lovely young Impala. She's definitely not old enough to be having any babies just yet. He's definitely not going to. So we can dismiss that possibility. Although it has been interesting watching the behavior. It always is. The behavior of the males at this time of year. They get very confused by all of the hormones floating around, and for some reason think it means mating time. Interesting biology, that. And they start going into a false rut, chasing each other around, chasing the poor females. You know, like the females don't have enough to contend with at the moment with their incredibly rotund bellies. Now they've got to run away from male Impala with something else on their mind. It must be quite frustrating for them. I don't see any little wobbly babies, do you, Gendre? No. Well, the morning is yet young. There's still a good chance we're going to see something small and wobbly and beautiful over the course of the rest of the sunrise safari. Gendre is determined it's going to be tomorrow. I'm not committed anymore. I said the 15th, and that's long past. We're going to go in search of our elusive hyenas. I never thought I'd say that. 5 months ago, I would never have said that. We're going to go search for our elusive hyenas. Let's go over to Byron and have a look at what he's looking at.
So I'm not too sure where I lost all of you there. We seem to just have an issue with some signal. But what I wanted to just show you was how interesting this buffalo carcass is. This carcass, I think this buffalo would have died from the drought. I don't think it was killed by a predator. And the reason I say that is because all the skin and that is still attached. The hide, it doesn't look like it's been ripped apart too much. There are ribs in that have been cleaned, but possibly by vultures and maybe smaller scavengers that have come across this carcass and that have fed on it. I don't think the lions fed on this, to be honest. There's a lot of plant material in and around here from stomach contents, so it also doesn't look like it's been ripped open and spread very much. So it's very interesting to see something like this, but I think that this buffalo was possibly died because of the drought. And it's been dead for quite a while. The skin is hardened quite a bit. You can see it has been dead for quite a while. But what I find quite interesting too is how many different insects there are feeding on this carcass and are still around this area. And one particular species of insect are these little beetles over here. And we can see them on the ground. See them all moving. Now these are carrion beetles, so they feed on dead meat or carcasses, and one of the species of insects that helps clean up these carcasses. It's interesting, and you can see actually there's a few of them right here feeding on the hooves. There's a hoof just off to the side here too, but it's interesting to see how they're all still feeding. Here's the hoof. You can see these carrion beetles. There's one sitting right there, still feeding on the hoof. All right, so it's interesting to see that, and all, again, results from the drought. We are going to carry on in our search for anything small and interesting. While I do that, let's see if Karula is going to perhaps hoist her kill.
Well, Karula's up. It looks like she might hoist the carcass. So we've rushed back to us. Now, the amount of flies is incredible at the moment. And there we go. She'll normally grip it. There we go. Here it goes. She's going to go. Up she goes. And she's doing exactly what I predicted she was going to do. And she's hanging it in the exact same place Quarantine hung his impala almost a year ago, maybe even more than a year ago. Those who keep records, see if you can remember when Mr. Quarantine hung an impala on the fence next to the old FC. Okay, just going to move around. Now, if she's hoisted this, it means she's more than likely going to go fetch the cubs shortly. So there we go. Sorry about that. The sun is rising directly behind her, so it does make for a little bit of difficult light. Eggsy's doing a fantastic job though. No blurry safari today. Oh, what are you talking to, Karula? The cubs aren't here. You need to fetch them before you can talk. Okay, so because the light's quite harsh, I'm going to try and move around to the other side. Oh, she's going to come down, hopefully, and go fetch those cubs. Oh, there we go. I hope you guys are ready with screenshots. Look at that magnificent light on that magnificent leopard. Oh, she's so quick. Down she comes. So if she does go to fetch the cubs, we're definitely going to follow her. As I said, when she meets up with those cubs, it's going to be very, very playful. She might do a bit of stomach bearing before she leaves to try and mask that smell. Obviously, I think today is going to be a scorcher. So the wind's starting, and the hotter it gets, there we go. Let's bury that stomach. Put some sand on there. Stop the smell. And time to go fetch the babies. Why'd you wait till it got hot, Krula? That wasn't very clever. Okay, we're definitely going to stick with the queen. Now, being the queen of Djuma, you never know. Make another kill on the way. But first, one must do one's morning ablutions before one sets off on an adventure. Now, I know David was asking about the stomach and whether it's the first thing they get rid of. It depends quite often on what what they're eating. If it's something big like an impala, not necessarily. But with smaller stuff, they will take the stomach out so they can get to the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, the heart, the high nutrient-rich organs. Now, as I said, Queen Karula, you never know. When she goes to fetch the cubs, she might even make another kill along the way. Now, I wonder if the cubs, the way she's behaving, looks like she's calling. I wonder if the cubs are around here, but maybe got a fright from the lion earlier and decided to make themselves scarce. I mean, we did have a good look around here before we started this morning, and I didn't see any sign of them. I mean, it's more than likely they're in the exact same spot of Elephant Carcass where we left them last night. Maybe she was just being hopeful. It's a long walk. Now, it's going to be interesting. So I guess it's probably about 2 kilometers, and I want to see how many minutes it takes her to get there. Now, it is getting warm very quickly, so she might stop and rest as she goes, like she's doing right now. She's so alert. Wonder what she heard. Now, there's still quite a lot of animals around here. I do love it when leopards look back over their shoulder like that. Such elegant lines. So there we are. She's chuffing and calling. So I wonder if she hasn't fetched the cubs, but they're just not right here at the moment.
Question from Unrealistic on Periscope. Are the cubs staying?
Well, a big welcome to Unrealistic, who's joining us on Periscope on Twitter. And Unrealistic is wondering, are the cubs safe when she leaves them to go out hunting? As safe as they can be. They're often left alone for quite a few days, but it is normal behavior. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to feed them, because they tend to rather hinder rather than help in hunts. So she's calling and chuffing, which I find could just be an instinctive response, even that she knows the cubs are far away. No, she could possibly have moved them. There's a very upset Franklin over there. I wonder if that's not from the cubs. Karolski, what's going on? Let's just position ourselves where we can see a bit more around us. I can't see anything where those Franklin are alarm calling. There we go. She is such a gorgeous leopard. Now, I'm also listening very carefully because she's calling to see if there's any responses. So far, I'm not hearing anything. She is walking towards where those Franklin were alarm calling. I just think it's quite unusual that if she had a carcass, that the cubs wouldn't have been right there with her. Oh, the monkeys have spotted her again. So we're going to keep following Queen Karula, see what happens. While we do that, let's go see how Byron's marching about is going.
Look what we've got, everybody. We've got some curious zebra that have just... I mean, we must be about 40 meters away. There's a little alarm call, just a little snort. But they're very relaxed and completely happy with us being around them. They actually came up towards us, came to have a look. Now they're just slowly moving off. The wind's changed slightly. It is blowing towards them now from us. So possibly our scent has disturbed them, but they were very curious. But they're still very relaxed. That's wonderful. I'm so glad that you got to see Karula hoist that kill. The timing was perfect. It's always wonderful to see how powerful these leopards are if they are hoisting kills. And the zebra enjoying a lot of the green grass at the moment. It was interesting, we saw some zebra dung earlier, and it was very interesting to see the dung seemed to be a lot more kind of lilac-breasted roller. Sorry, it's just flying over us. Want to see if it perches. No, it's flying away. But so the zebra dung was very interesting to see because it was very loose and not like normal zebra dung. Let's see if that roller actually displays for us. There we go. A little roll. Just disappeared there. So it's called the roller. So as I was saying, the zebra dung was very loose and very coarse, and it looked like it had an upset stomach, and that was interesting. And we think it's because they've been feeding on grass lately that hasn't had a lot of nutrients in it, because it's been so dry. And now all of a sudden this green grass has come out, and they're feeding a lot more on that. So it's almost cleaning out their system a little bit, and I think that has affected the digestive system. But pretty soon will find a balance again and they'll be fine. So it is interesting to see how the change in season and the change in grass and water around affects the digestive system of certain animals. But wonderful to get so close to them. There's a young one there. I wonder how old that one would be. A few years old, just a few years old, still quite young. And that one's actually been very curious, watching us, staring at us. But I'm very surprised that they haven't decided to move off. They're very relaxed, which is wonderful. It's always fascinating to get to see animals on foot because you see how different their behavior is. You know, when we're on the vehicles, you are able to get a lot closer because they're used to the vehicles. There's something that passes by. But on foot, you can see how difficult it is to actually get close to them because they do see us and they can hear us and they tend to move away quite quickly. But occasionally you get animals that are just curious and are quite relaxed and not too fazed by us at all, which is wonderful. Speaking of birds, when that lilac-breasted roller just reminded me now, VM actually spotted the first woodland kingfisher earlier, and unfortunately it flew away just before we could show you. But a little bit earlier this morning, he did spot one, so they definitely are around. I know Brent heard one, we heard one yesterday, and we saw one this morning, so that's wonderful, but we need to show you, so hopefully we'll still see one flying about or perched somewhere. I haven't heard one this morning, just seen that one. So, interesting. It's always nice to have them back. And also need to see when those impala lambs are going to be around. That would be wonderful to see. So hopefully soon. We're going to continue through the bush, through this wonderful thicket that we're in at the moment. Let's head back to Jamie and see what she's got.
Impala lambs are always an exciting thing about summer, but I have to tell you that this is probably one of my favorite sights of this particular season. And just take a moment to watch this whole process, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. There's something innately entertaining about watching a dung beetle roll a ball of dung. Now, for those of you that perhaps for whom this is a first time seeing this, that is the male jumping up on the top every now and again to look where he's going and then pushing frantically along. And the female is the one clutching onto the side and seemingly not actually contributing much to this process at all. That's not entirely fair, though, because what she does is she makes sure that the ball is not completely spherical, which makes life difficult. Oh, buddy? Now what? Oh, no, that's going to be even worse. Oh, no. Oh, is he going to dig? No. Now what on earth are you going to do? Oh, yes, the female clutches on. Oh, he's going to start digging it down. Oh, that is so cool. Oh, we're going to get to watch him bury it. This is wonderful. Where are they? Okay, there they are in reality. I'm just going to shift forward a little bit so that we've got a view of the whole process. I love watching this. One of my favorite things about summer. And we're just going to scoot off here and watch as this process begins. Now, the female clings on, and as I said, make sure that the ball isn't spherical, so that if he does lose control of it, particularly if he spent the last half an hour or so of his day trying to push it uphill, if he does accidentally let it roll, the fact that she's clinging on there, she essentially acts as a stopper. What's going to happen here is you can actually see the whole process, and it's surprisingly quick for such a large ball of dung. We've seen this process before. Look what she's doing. Patting it down, making sure that the dung ball is covered with dirt to help to hide the scent, and also to make sure that it's quite hard and solid. So, for our new viewers, why on earth are the dung beetles doing this? Well, she's going to lay, or she probably will have already laid her eggs in that ball of dung, which provides the perfect nutrient start to her larvae's life when they do hatch. And if you catch a moment to see her in the sun, look at that gorgeous plum color that's shining through. And one of my favorite dung beetles to watch. So she's patting round and round and round. Now, the male has managed to seduce her by rolling such a spectacularly big dung ball that she's decided that it would be the perfect home for her offspring. And now the two of them have to work in tandem. Look at the strength involved here. He's sifting huge amounts of dirt to bury that dung ball. And all the while the female's going pat, 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 pat. Oh, this reminds me of the last time we watched this, and it must have been almost a year ago. I love dung beetles. They are one of the most fascinating creatures. They're unbelievably strong. Part of the same family that is home to the strongest beetle in the world, which is, of course, one of the rhino beetles. And I can't remember the exact figures. Perhaps some of you can remind me. Oh, there he emerges. No, go back to your digging, she seems to be saying. He looks a bit disoriented, so would I, if I'd just been completely covered in dirt. Back down, back to work you go. Oh, he's pushing it right out of the way so that he can dig down. The female's desperately clutching on, but not once does she stop. Uh-oh. Patting. Okay. Right. So obviously that wasn't the spot then. He must have hit some hard soil, or perhaps he just decided that wasn't the safest place. Whee! David, have a quick look. You wanted to know which is larger, the male or the female. It depends on the species of dung beetle, and you can actually get some of the same species that you can see a difference in size, but these two, to me, seem to be pretty much of a muchness. The female might be fractionally larger, just looking at their body sizes, but there's very little between it. And it's not necessarily a common thread for the different species of dung beetle. For the most part, they are relatively similar in size. There's not a huge sexual dimorphism. I wonder what was going through his mind when he decided that was not the place to be. Oh, no. Do you think he got camera shy? Because he seems to have found himself a perfect spot behind a tree. Let's just wait for a moment, see if he keeps pushing. Just the movement of the leaves. They are so cool. I was saying I can't remember the exact conversion. I remember reading up about it a while ago. The comparison in strength between if a rhino beetle, the strongest beetle in the world, if it was the size of a human. And if I remember correctly, it's something like being able to pick up 80 tons in weight, a human being able to pick that up. That's the equivalent of what a rhino beetle can pick up and what it can do. So they are unbelievably strong. I've lost him now, it's gone behind those guarri bushes. I can't really go much further off the road. I've just poked my nose out off the road itself to get a better view, but I can't really drive off-road to get a better view of them. Let me try going this way. And then, Mauricia, I will answer your question. Sorry, that wasn't meant to be so quizzical. Have you got any kind of a view? Don't think so. Oh well, it was fun while it lasted. Mauricia, you wanted to know when it comes time for the larvae to hatch, will they dig their way out of the dung ball? As far as I know, in that species of dung beetle, I'm not 100% sure, but I think with this species of dung beetle, what they'll actually do is hatch, eat the dung ball, obviously, and then pupate in the dung ball itself and then break open as in their adult dung beetle form. That's as far as I know with this particular plum-colored species of dung beetle. There's a whole load of different species. There's some that focus on predator or carnivore scat, which are ones that you shouldn't touch. These ones are absolutely perfectly fine to touch. There's some that bury straight down from the dung pile. There's some, obviously, a lot of the species that roll these balls and find a nice appropriate hidden spot, and it has to be a good spot. He's done very well wherever he is. He's vanished now. He's done very well in terms of choosing a place that's actually quite hidden and secure, because dung beetle larvae is a jackpot for things like mongooses and in particular honey badgers. Honey badgers absolutely love them. They can sniff them out, dig them out, crack open the hard casing around the dung ball and eat the larvae. And you often find, I think there might even be one in the tent. I'm trying to remember now if there's one in the tent. We found them before, but examples of old dung balls where they've been broken open by honey badgers and the larvae eaten. Oh well. I think he's started burying himself. Unfortunately, I can't get a different position. While we go off in search of other exciting signs of summer, let's go across to Byron, who's on foot and looking for something interesting for you.
So it sounds like it's all happening at the moment. Little cubs around, and Jamie spending time with the dung beetles. Wonderful to see a lot of those dung beetles. Now I'm just walking around and having a look for certain little tracks. Now I've just seen one over here, which I do think I know what this is from. If you look closely, you can see there's a little track or two track heading across the sand, and what this is most likely from is a millipede that's walked across the road. And what's happened is, so the one line is the one line of feet, and the other line is the other line of feet. So a little millipede that's walked all along here. Oh, and I can hear that red-crested coron. Did you all hear that? It just started calling up ahead. We might still be able to see it. Not sure. They are quite secretive birds. And if they do hide in the scrub, it's very difficult to see them. Trying to look what other tracks we can find. It's always nice to walk around and look at tracks. There's a lot of zebra tracks around here. Let's see if I can find a nice clear one for you. There's some buffalo tracks here. We go in some buffalo tracks that have crossed the road. There's one over here. Buffalo track. Another one over there. So that's one thing that we need to look out for while being on a walk is buffalo. Don't want to bump into one of those. And just see over here. This is interesting. Something's had a little dig. Oh wow, look at this, everyone. Look at this. Look at this. Something's dug over here and it's managed to dig out a scorpion. You see that? Look at the remains of the pincers. It's quite a large pincer, two large pincers. Some ants just feeding on it. Let me pick this up for you and just show you. Look at that. It's a very, very large pincer. Now I wonder what would have dug this out. Ooh. Let's see if we can find any tracks around here. Possibly a civet, maybe. Oh, look at that. Wonderful. It's interesting what you can find while looking. Oh, I wonder if you can actually see this. This is really interesting. Is if you have a look very, very closely, can you see those little hairs on the exoskeleton of the scorpion? Now the scorpions are covered in these little hairs, and that's what they pick up on the vibrations of any insects that are walking around that they're trying to perhaps catch. And last night we managed to spot a little scorpion, the Pistacanthus scorpion in the tree, and I mentioned or spoke about how the scorpions sit with their pincers hanging. Let's have a look. It's a leopard, everybody. Just heard a leopard calling. Let's go have a look. So as I was saying, with those little hairs, the scorpions pick up on the vibrations, and as insects walk past, then they'll go and try and grab them. Alright, that's not too far, everyone. That didn't sound too far at all. That's very, very exciting. So we've got to keep our eyes open now. Let's see. Now we did see tracks of a male leopard earlier. This is possibly a male leopard that called now. Not sure which one. Maybe Tingana. Who knows? This is exciting. So we're trying to walk quite quickly now. Let's see if we can find this leopard. So the whole time we do have to try keep our voices down a little bit. Don't want to scare the leopard off. And this leopard will definitely pick up on us while we're walking. And usually they do get a bit shy. They're very skittish generally. They may move off unless you surprise them. So while we're walking, just having a good scan around, keeping our eyes open. I don't see any tracks yet, so I'm just looking on the ground. This is very exciting, everyone. Isn't this great? It would be wonderful to find a leopard on foot this morning. And the thing is, earlier we heard those lions fighting with one another, and the lions being chased by those elephant, and I think you got to see some of those elephant and the lions. But so I'm just having a look here quickly. But we heard them, but it was actually quite far. Pardon? Oh, right. And so we're just at Gowrie repeater now, the repeater station. So as I was saying, is we heard those lions, we heard that elephant, but they were very, very far. But yet we could still hear them. They sounded a lot closer than they actually were. So sound does travel quite a lot in the bush, especially when you're on foot like this. Very close, everyone. Very, very close. It's very, very close. Quickly, I think we might have found this leopard. Wow, this is exciting. All right, so that sounded like it was coming probably about 50 meters ahead of us. Let's see, hopefully this leopard isn't walking too quickly. That wonderful rasping sound of that leopard giving that call. Just want to scan quickly here. Some binoculars, sometimes easier to spot things while they're moving. Let's try to catch up with Herbie a bit. Alright, let's have a look, everybody. This is very exciting. It really is not often you get to walk after a leopard calling to try and find it. Let's just watch here. It is quite thick here, and as we know, a leopard can disappear very, very quickly if they don't want to be seen. Now, I have tracked leopards before where, okay, this one was calling, so I'm assuming it's moving around, probably scent marking, and that giving that territorial call. But I've tracked leopards before where they'll go and lie in a bush, and you can walk right past them. It's incredible how quickly they can disappear if they don't want to be seen. So we do have to keep our eyes peeled and scan very, very carefully. Also, while we're walking, I'm trying. There's a honey guide at the top of the tree there. Now that honey guide has possibly seen the leopard. It sounds like an alarm call. Let's follow the honey guide, everyone. It's a greater honey guide. Oh, it's going that way. But now, I'll tell you why I'm laughing is because the honey guide will lead you to honey. They'll fly and they'll want you to follow them. And while you're doing that, because they will take you to a beehive so that you can open it up and get some of the honey out, and they'll feed on the little bees and some of the honey. Still haven't seen a track yet, everyone, of this leopard that we're looking for. Honey guide's still flying ahead of us. What I might do is head up on top of this termite mound and scan around, because that's often helps, is to try to get a vantage point. Just try have a look. Let me have a quick look up here. Alright, so while we look for this leopard, Brent still has leopards. Let's head over to Brent and we'll carry on our search around here.
Now, look at this. Young Hosana is here. I haven't seen any sign of little Shongile, but there's alarm calls everywhere. So, and you're not going to believe where young Hosana was. Oh, look where he's going. He's going to come right past us again. Sorry, that's my fat head. Hello, mister. And he's going to go right round. He came down and lay in the shade of the car a little bit earlier. Oh, that sounds like Shongile's on her way, listening to the Franklin on the other side. But now he's probably a foot, less than a foot. There we go. He's using our car for shade. Isn't that amazing? He's absolutely 100% comfortable in our presence. Like, well, it's quite hot, and the shade everywhere else is patchy, but your vehicle is nice, and it gives a nice solid piece of shade, so I'm going to come sleep right next to you. Isn't this incredible? Now, why don't you guys tweet one word about how this particular little leopard sighting makes you feel. And Eggsy's just going to pull out. I want to show you. He is so close to the vehicle that I have to lean like this. There we go. I still can just see him. Look at him looking at me. Hello, mister. Isn't that amazing? So tweet with the hashtags SafariLive one word. How does this make you feel? Oh, there we go. He's on the move again. Back to mom. Oh, we are just so spoiled. I mean, to wake up every day and do a job you love and spend time with the incredible wild animals. Now, Susan is saying, we always say that this is a big open area with no fences, and she says, well, then why is there electric? Oh, I'm sure Shongile is on her way. You can hear there's Franklin going nuts around there, and I'm pretty sure that's where she is. She's probably on the move. We can't see her just yet. Now, Susan, there you saw the fence, and that's what you were wondering about. Susan, that's just a fence around a house, so it's mostly to keep elephants, buffalo, and hippo out of gardens, because they can be very dangerous, very close to human habitation. The leopards, as we saw this morning, well, Hosana was inside the garden. They are able to get through that fence without any trouble whatsoever. Oh, he's off he goes again. Where are you off to, mister? There he pops round. Oh, he's coming even closer. So close, Eggsy is only getting a bit of him. So now he's less than a foot from our tyre. He's smelling the tire. Eggsy says, I can't see. I'm gonna have to lean. Oh, where's he? I can't even see him when I lean forward. I can just see his tail. Oh, it's so special. Kula obviously keeping a close eye. What is that little nonsense up to? I'm pretty sure wherever Shongile is around here somewhere. There we go, he's coming back again. Pacing up and down. Headbutt mom. Well, we've got some one-word tweets in. Dump Rat Dave says Bazinga. What is Bazinga? Do you know what Bazinga is?
It's on Big Bang Theory.
It's on Big Bang Theory. Okay. I don't think I've watched that one. Do you like it? Oh, Eggsy says eh. But, okay, well, Bazinga, as Sheldon apparently says on Big Bang Theory, and Tracy says amazing. Here he goes again. Well, at least this time he's staying a little bit further away so we can see him. Where are you off to, Trouble? I'm going to go harass some Franklins. I can hear a Franklin in that thicket somewhere. Well, From Person would like to know whether I'm more nervous with no door. Not at all, actually. The majority of the vehicles I've used in the bush over my life didn't have a door. It makes it easier for tracking. And it's a shame that Franklin's gone right up to the top of the tree. Franklins generally don't like being in trees. They prefer being on the ground, but he's right in the top of that marula. I can't see him, I can just hear him. Saying, up there, oh, Mom's calling for Hosanna to come back, and it looks like he's listening, sort of. Where is he now? So, the reason I don't have a door anymore is because apparently I'm too big to turn around and talk to you easily, and also it was turning and twisting was giving me a slight back problem, which is now gone because I can turn around and not have my knees stopped by the door. Oh, don't do that. Well, that tells you that the electric fence is definitely not on. The leopard cub is biting the electric fence. If that was on, I think there would be a very different reaction. Now, quite often what happens with these electric fences is that when they first put up, it's to teach elephants and buffalo and hippo. Once they've touched it a few times, that's that. And they don't really touch it again. So they are able to remember that it's a bad idea. My favorite creature in electric fences is warthogs. Now, warthogs, even when they know there's an electric fence, and on our family farm, we used to grow lucerne and some other things, and to keep the warthogs and other animals out. So half the farm was a game farm and half the farm was a commercial farm. And the warthogs would look at the fence. They knew there was an electric strand, but they really wanted to get to the nice stuff on the other side of the fence that they're not supposed to eat. And what they do is they go, "Queek, queek, 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 queek," squeal like you have no idea, before they touch the fence. And then when they ran through the fence, completely silent. It was very funny, warthogs and fences. Okay, I wonder where Shongile is. Hopefully she's around. Hello know Sarah, who's 10 years old. Sarah would like to know, what is a leopard's favorite meal? Well, Sarah, it's the one they catch. No, I'm only playing. But their general, it depends, a male or female. But the most common prey for a male leopard is probably impala or inyala or bushbuck. And in this, our case with Karula, it's normally steenbok or duiker. But impala, they have a very varied diet. I'm just trying to see. This is where that Franklin was alarm calling, if I can spot Shongile around here somewhere. But they have a very varied diet. Oh, there's another. Is that? Yes, there we go. They're saying all the Franklins very upset, not in their normal position on the ground. They moved up into the trees. I'll show you now. Can you see it, Megs?
Yeah.
I'm going to go forward a bit more still, I think. There we go. There he is. There's the Franklin in that with all the leopards. He's decided it's much safer. A little bit to the right. Or you've seen a different one. Oh, it's a different one. I saw another one. There's a couple of them. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if young Hosanna decides they're worth chasing. Sometimes young male leopards do that. And I know one of our favorites, Sindile, he was a great one at trying to chase Franklins in trees. And testiculars and waxbills and everything he could find when he was left alone. Oh. Carla is wondering if Hosanna was very hungry, would he fetch Shongile himself? No, not necessarily, no. Shongile would only really be fetched by her mom. I'm pretty sure she's here. Oh. Those Franklin are panicking. Oh, watch, keep wide, just in case Hosanna goes. No, he's not going to. And he's got, oh, look at her hissing at Hosanna. There we go. Now, where is Shongile? I'm sure she's around here somewhere. It's so nice to see them this far north inside Djuma again. And yesterday when we were sitting with Hosanna and Shongile, ooh, he thought about it. He looked at the Franklin, he thought about it. She's still calling, looking for Shongile, who's proving to be naughty and independent. I wonder if she's also in the Moolman's garden. It's just been such a wonderful morning. Now Milko is wondering, do I think she could be stuck in the garden? Not at all, Milko. She's a very agile young lass, and I'm quite sure if she is inside. I'm not 100% sure she is inside the garden, but if she is, she'll get out with no problem. Oh, it looks like we've got another visitor coming. Hello, Mr. Hosanna. Are you coming to utilize? Well, we don't have any shade where we parked here. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. The only shade is in the front of the vehicle. Is he going to go lie down where we can't see him at all? Oh dear. That's exactly what he's done, I think. Yes. He's lying down, literally there. I mean, about this far from the front of the car. I'm just going to kneel so I can have a look. Isn't that amazing? He's so close. So while we wait for him to move, for Shongile to appear, let's go see how Byron's leopard search on foot is going.
we get audio now? Okay. Alright, so sorry, there we go, fixed that everybody, maybe just got some wires loose there. So as I was saying, we're still checking this area, we haven't heard anything, we haven't heard another leopard call, haven't seen any tracks or anything. This honey guide that we saw earlier is constantly calling and wanting us to follow it. We're just in two minds now if we do try and continue looking for the leopard or not. Now the problem is that in my experience tracking and finding and following leopards, it's very difficult to follow a leopard, especially if they are walking and they're scent marking, they're calling. Unless you've got the tracks and you can follow the tracks, a leopard can disappear very, very quickly. It might not be worth our while trying to carry on looking for this leopard. We're still in the area, so if it calls again, we may have a better idea of which direction she or he has gone. Not sure if it's a male or female. We think possibly a female by that very short call that she gave. It wasn't a long rasping sound. So possibly a female, but we're not sure. As I said, we haven't seen any tracks or anything, so it's difficult for us to tell whether it was a female or not. As I said, this honey guide is very intent on getting us to follow it. So I think what we might do is we're going to carry on trying to follow the honey guide a little bit. But as I said, we are still in this area. If the leopard calls again, we are then able to try and find it. But if it was moving through a thicket, scent marking, with us following it, they'll probably disappear quite quickly. All right, so let's head back to Jamie. She is in the area too. Let's try and get an update from her and see what she has.
I was actually on my way to this area as it was, but as soon as I got the call from Herbie and Byron that they could hear a leopard sawing very, very close to them, we've raced across and we're now patrolling the boundary of the block that they are in. So at the moment I'm right on the western edge of Djuma. Sorry, hold on a second. Jandre has spotted something. What have you spotted, Jandre? Tracks. Where? Am I being blind? Oh, there. There we go. Very nicely done, Jandre. Very, very nicely done. Beautifully done. And that is exactly what we are looking for. Fresh and crisp as the day is young. We'd better go right away, and I'd actually better start listening to the Arathusa comms to make sure whether or not this leopard has been found already. These are such fresh tracks. Where exactly am I? Yeah, we can do this. We can go around. I was going to go straight through the block. Let's just check carefully for him. They are so crisp and new that we are the first people to drive over them. So he's in here somewhere. Well done, Jandre. Well spotted. Okay, well, we can pass that message on to Herbie and Byron that the wonderful Tingana is on Arathusa. Let's go see if we can't catch up with him. And male leopards can move unbelievably quickly when they want to. There's the impala. They're alert. They've obviously seen him come through, but they're no longer alarm calling, which means that he probably came through, I would guess, about 5, maybe 10 minutes ago. They've had long enough to no longer be directly on edge. They're not alarm calling. They're still a little bit skittish though. Okay, sorry, we're going to move quite fast. We're going to try and catch up with him now. Alright, Tingana, are you going to Red Dam or are you going into the awful block? Usually his route would take him straight towards Red Dam and then through the drainage system. So we're just going to check carefully along here. Sorry, I'm not looking at you, just because I am concentrating on not driving over these tracks. Although that's okay, I've got Jandre on the back to help me. Hey, Jandre. Morning stations, if anyone can copy me, we had audio of Tingana about 10 minutes ago and it is very fresh in Konzo crossing Triple M towards Knobthorne Open. There's some beeps happening. Copy that, thanks. See you shortly. Okay. Let's go very slowly here. There's a fallen log in this area that tricks me every single time I drive along this road. Every single time I think it's a leopard. He's deposited one large scat by the smell of things somewhere here. I can smell it. So where is the leopard responsible for it? Our safari, we've spoken earlier about following the calls of Tingana, and you wanted to know whether or not leopards can distinguish the calls of other leopards, so basically distinguish individuals. Yes, as far as I'm concerned, they absolutely can. I'm very strongly of the opinion that leopards and lions can identify individuals, just in the same way that we can hear an individual's voice on a radio or a telephone, or, from behind a closed door, and know exactly who it is that we're hearing. If it's somebody we know, of course. So yes, I think each and every leopard in the area knows each and every other leopard, and I think they recognize each other's calls. Wind's blowing from this way. I'm just trying to sniff this out and figure if he has crossed the road or not. I haven't seen any tracks. I'm quite wary with Tingana on foot, not because he's a threat, just because he often runs away. He not runs away, he doesn't run, he slinks off very quickly. He's very difficult to find on foot. You kind of have to bump into him somewhere along the line. Okay. Right, we've also got some of the other vehicles coming in to give us a hand. Sorry about that. I'm going to try and find whatever it is that's so smelly, but a leopard in the hand is worth two in the, the whole expression. And let's go back over to Brent and his leopards.
Here we go. We're still here. Hosana is still wandering around us. Your said it looks like he might have spotted the meat. He's not going there. He's behind the vehicle again, where we can't see him. So we'll stick with Queen Mum. Still no sign of little Shongile popping up yet. I'm sure she's around here somewhere. I'm almost surprised she hasn't snuck onto the carcass while these two have been around here. Oh, Karula spotted vultures. I saw that quick look up. Quite a lot of vultures in the air. Obviously, there's quite a few dead buffalo around. So lots of vultures about. Aha. Eggsy, don't forget where that poo is. That's... Hosana has defecated behind us, and I need to collect some of his scat later, obviously when the leopards move off towards the carcass. Here we go, coming back past us. Still quite well fed from that duiker. Oh, what have you spotted, mister? Oh, it's tired now. Too much walking around in this heat. I wonder where his sister is. As we've had such a fantastic morning with these incredible leopards. There are apparently quite a few vehicles waiting to come in and have a look at them as well. So we're going to be leaving shortly. We will be back here on the Sunset Safari, that's a guarantee, to spend more time with these incredible leopards. But as it heats up, not much shade around the tree that the carcass is in, so they might sleep. Oh, she's getting upset with him. Stop putting your tail in my face, you young rapscallion. She keeps looking back in towards the garden and where those francolin are going on incessantly. I think let's go have a quick look, see if we can spot Shongile. Now, those francolin have not stopped, and these two are far enough away. Okay, so the francolins are alarming just over there. I'm going to go see if we can find young Shongile before we leave. I'm pretty certain she's still here, judging by all the alarm calls. Okay, so Hosanna appeared out of the garden over here. Let's just see if we can see on the other side. You can still hear that of the francolin. Let's just look carefully, quickly here. I think she's in here somewhere. Whoopsie. I see her on that termite mound. So, butterfly and a lot of new viewers are wondering. See, that's definitely Shongile's tracks, the smaller of the cub tracks. You can just make them out here. It's in a bit of a difficult spot, so I can see her tracks here. And I will answer your question now. I'm just trying to have one last look. So, a lot of you are wondering why we would collect the scat or the poo. There's a very important project that's going on, run by an NGO for predator conservation called Panthera. Now there's two different projects that are sort of running simultaneously with the scat. One is to look for the genetic markers for male leopards in the scat. So we always know who the mom is. It's not always we know who the dad is, because the females will mate with quite a lot of different male leopards. But the more important of the two projects is to do with the illegal trade in leopard skins. There's a church in South Africa called the Shengi Church, and they... Oh, I thought I saw it. It's not here. And they traditionally wear leopard skins at their church functions. And the church has grown so much that it's not feasible anymore. And of course, if you wear skins every Sunday, they're going to get worn and eventually need to be replaced. So Panthera have started an incredible program where they actually have convinced quite a few of the elder members of the church and a lot of members of the church to swap their proper leopard skins for synthetic skins. Still looks like a leopard skin, but of course it's not real. And so the genetic markers there are to see which areas of Africa are being hit the hardest with leopard poaching. And in their first 10 or 20,000 skins that they tested, there was about 4 or 5 of those skins that had genetic markers that were related to leopards from the Sabi Sands. More than likely moved out into the community areas, probably young males, dispersal males. But the most interesting thing that's come out of that research so far is that almost 80% of those skins come from northern Mozambique and southern Tanzania. So that's obviously an area that Panthera is putting quite a lot of focus on when it comes to leopard conservation, predator conservation in general. So that's why we collect the scat. No, it's not her. So we can see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to leave these leopards, let someone else have a chance to spend some time with these incredible creatures. I think I might go have a swing past those male lions, see if they've moved at all. While we do that, let's go back to Byron, who is following a honey guide.
So look at this, everyone. This honey guide brought us to what appears to be, there we go, there's a bee that's just gone in there to a beehive. And here, the bird's right above us now. The honey guide has come back to us, knows that this is where the bees are. But I feel quite bad for this little bird, because there's no way that I'm able to obviously disturb the bees. For one, I don't want to, and also it's in this tree stump. She would really struggle to break that open to get to that honey. So unfortunately, none of us will benefit from it, but it is so interesting. And isn't it wonderful how this bird led us straight to this beehive? It is incredible. So there's definitely honey in there, and I can see little bees flying in and out. So there are quite a lot of bees around here. But that is really, really fascinating. Now, I know there's some wonderful stories regarding the honey guide and them leading you to honey or to the beehives. Now, usually what they do is they do lead honey badgers, and I'm sure you've all heard of the honey badger. And it's probably my favorite animal. Incredible little creature. And these honey badgers will follow these honey guides and lead them, will be led to beehives like this. But what the honey badger is equipped with to help it is these very powerful and sharp claws, and they will tear open bark and break open branches and that to try and get to the beehive. They'll feed on the honey. The bees, the honey badgers have got very loose, quite thick skin, so the stings of the bees don't bother them as much. And then what happens is, with the honey badger obviously digging and opening the hole, the honey guide will then benefit from that too, feed on some of the insects and get some of the honey. So it is an incredible relationship between these two. Now, I have heard some stories from some Shangaan trackers that I've worked with in the past, and Judas tracker that I worked with for many years. He used to tell me that as a young boy growing up, he would follow these honey guides and he would get honey. And but he said with their culture, they believe that you've got to be very careful. So if you are led to a beehive and you take honey and you don't leave any for the honey guide or for the bird, that is a very, very bad idea, because what can happen is the next time that honey guide sees you, it may call you and get you to follow it, but it may take you to a hole where there might be a black mamba in there. So you need to be very careful, and you need to pay your dues and say thank you to the honey guide. But unfortunately, and hopefully the honey guide sees that we're not getting any honey either, so there's nothing for us and nothing for the bird. So hopefully it doesn't take us to a black mamba next time. But isn't that incredible? Really fascinating. And we walked really far following this bird, about 1 kilometer, I would say. So that was very interesting, very, very interesting. And it sounded like, well, that Jamie had tracks of that male leopard crossing onto Arathusa, and that's possibly the same leopard that we heard. I doubt there would have been another leopard in that area. So I think what happened was we must have startled the leopard, or definitely heard us, or saw us perhaps, who knows. And what I think it did is actually turned around and headed back in the opposite direction where we just came from. So it was... Oh, and I think Jamie has actually found the owner of the tracks that she had. That's awesome.
It actually was much more of a combined effort between Doug and myself finding the owner of the tracks, and Doug eventually spotted him resting up on this termite mound. The wonderful, massive Tingana, looking very stately and actually rather sleepy. What a tremendous amount of ground he's covered in the last... When did Byron first call in that leopard sound? Probably about 40 minutes ago or so. And he's just obviously been on a mission to get into one of his favorite areas, which is very, very close to Red Dam. And he's probably going to pop there for a drink in the not-too-distant future. But for now... he's having a very pleasant doze. I enjoy spending time with all of our leopards, but I really enjoy spending time with Tingana in particular. His scratches healed up nicely on his nose. I noticed that a couple of days ago when we were with him. And he always... it's completely... I mean, it really is anthropomorphizing this, but Tingana always looks as though he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, like a slightly overstressed businessman who's got a family to support and slight troubles there. He just has that slightly concerned look all of the time, and that's purely my impression of his face. It's not absolutely not the case. He's not a particularly concerned leopard. It's just the way that his facial expression to me comes across. And there he's dozing away. Those massive paws that were responsible only a few moments ago for leaving the tracks in the sand. Awesome. I'm glad that this leopard search actually paid off. You usually know when you hear a leopard, and you're relatively close, you can almost guarantee that you're going to find them. It's just a matter of persistence and hard work, provided, of course, they are one of the Sabi Sands leopards, so one of the more comfortable ones around vehicles. If it's a leopard that doesn't want to be seen, that's an entirely different story. Luckily, Tingana is incredibly relaxed and composed around people. Hey, gorgeous. He's not too bothered at all. I love seeing him resting up on this termite mound, but it would be nice to see him walking around as well, just to get an idea as to whether or not he's eaten. It just helps us build up a picture in our own minds as to what's going to happen with the animal over the next few hours. If he's empty-bellied, but of course you can never fully predict because they are such opportunistic animals. That one will give you a fright, boy. Little bit. What a day we have had. 2 separate lion sightings, 2 separate leopard sightings, and 1 very talented honey guide. I have to say that is the most amazing story. I'm very, very impressed, and I'm hoping that Byron will figure out some way of rewarding that particular bird. And we've, of course, got to say a big thank you to Byron and Herbie, without whom we would not have found this particular leopard. Is there anything more beautiful than a leopard lying in that greenery in dappled morning sunlight? I'm not entirely sure there is. The one thing I have noticed while we were looking for Tingana is just how much denser this vegetation has become over the last week or so, and getting harder and harder for us to be able to see into the bush and spot the animals. And it's all part and parcel. Every season has its challenges, and this is the particular challenge of summer. But we haven't been doing too badly for leopards. between Karula and her offspring, and now Tingana, the most probably the father of Karula's 2 cubs. For those of you that are new to these safaris, you're probably looking at Dad. It's impossible for us to say with certainty, and that's just because, of course, the animals are, well, they're secretive in their lives, and we only get to see a percentage of their day-to-day existence. So Karula could well have mated and would have mated with other male leopards. But there is a good chance. My money's on Tingana. And one day we will get the DNA results of the various leopard cubs, and we'll be able to tell for absolute certain which is which and which father is the father of which cub. But my money's on Tingana. Hasana even looks a little bit like him. Now, he's, of course, the dominant male leopard that we see the most frequently. Every now and again, we see his rival, the Anderson male, whose territory borders on the sort of western side of his territory. An absolutely massive male leopard, although I reckon there's only, I would say probably on one of Tingana's good days, there's probably only about 10 or so kilograms between the 2 of them. I reckon they are relatively evenly matched, and Tingana's got plenty of experience on his side. And then Quarantine to the southeast and Shimbambalana. All in all, Tingana actually has a massive territory that extends up north of where we are into Simbambili, through Arathusa, south towards Hoffman's, and all the way into Chitwa and Torchwood. It's an absolutely massive area, and encompasses Karula's territory, Shadow's territory, bits of Salahesh's territory, Tundi's territory, Shaluva's to an extent, although of course Mvula spends most of his time up in that area. A beautiful, peaceful scene we have stumbled upon. Hey, Mr. T. Mr. T, I wonder if you know, wonder if you realized just how famous you would have become over the last week for depositing a very large surprise at the end of a TV show. It was really the perfect end to a rather interesting afternoon, that Tingana moment. And for those of you that didn't perhaps get to see our television appearance the other couple of days ago, we had 1 or 2 glitches, 1 or 2 things went wrong, as they do out here in the African bush, and Tingana spent most of the 2 hours pretty much like this. Sometimes he rolled over and showed the other side, but for the most part he was largely positioned exactly as he is now. And in the last, I promise you, last 2 minutes of the television show, as we were doing our finishing up and doing our thank yous, Tingana gets up, stretches majestically, walks into the road next to the vehicle, talking softly, he's right next to us, all that excitement. What's he going to do now for the last few seconds? Oh, that's what he's going to do. Defecate right next to the vehicle. I had such a good chuckle at that. We all did. It's just the joys of live wildlife filming. Hey, Mr. T. Thank you for providing a really solid piece of amusement for us for a long time to come. Aww. I also think that for the massive male leopard that he is, there's something very sweet about his face. I feel the complete opposite about the Anderson male. I find the Anderson male he's incredible. He is such a magnificent leopard, but there's something quite brutish about his face. And I mean, this is purely from an anthropomorphic point of view, just from what we see. And I don't know if it's Anderson's eyes, but Tingana has a much gentler face. Maybe it's just that I've spent the most time with Tingana. Unfortunately, I arrived after Mvula's reign over Djuma, so I've hardly really got to spend all that much time with him. The male leopard that I've spent the most time with has been Tingana. So while Tingana snoozes away, let's go from one leopard sighting to another and see what Brent's up to.
Whoops-a-daisies. No, I decided the lines were so flat and steepy that I was going to go try see if I could find that elephant herd. And voila! As we came across, we found them. I heard them in the distance. So Eggsy and I decided we need some Ellies in our life. I'll try to get closer to them now. You see them, Eggs?
Yeah.
There we go. Hello, Ellies. Here comes a baby from the right. Little one. Oh, no, sweetness! I'm hoping they come down into the Moati River. There we go. It's always wonderful when a plan works out, and it's not often that all your plans work out in one morning, but today they have. Moving along the edge of the riverbank. Here comes the little one, keeping up with Mom. Let's just move a bit further forward. Oh, no, Mom stopped. We'll stop. Thought she was going to keep moving. Found something she likes there. Now, the reason I decided to go after the elephants than rather stay with the lions, now that the rains have come, we're not going to be spoilt as much as we were with elephants everywhere. We might have days like that, but not weeks. And with the rain, the Ellie's going to spread out quite a lot. Now, that is natural and normal. So, quite often in the dry season, we have lots of elephants all together, and then in the wet season they spread out, and that gives a lot of areas time to recover from extensive elephant feeding. I'm going to try to get a bit closer. Oh, decision time, Eggs. What do you think? I think they're going to come down over here, so I'm going to go park myself in the spot where I think they're going to come down and just wait for them. Here they come. Looks like this might be quite a large herd. Now, as it gets warmer, we might be spoilt on the sunset safari with some splashing in the mud that's around. I always love a good elephant mud bath. Okay, here they come, Eggs. Hi, guys. Here we go. So we're right at the edge of the elephant path, so I think they are going to move through towards us. Oh, that is a very young baby. Still pink on the ears. Oh, sure. Couple of weeks old. I love them so much. Such amazing little creatures. Here comes Mom. Oh, there she goes. Oh, don't leave me, Mom. And they're just spreading out through this riverine area into the thickets feeding. We've got the terrible teens on their way towards us, coming down the riverbed. There are 3 of them. I do love that noise. Now, one of the funniest stories, and quite a nice story, when I used to live in Botswana, we regularly had hundreds of elephants around the camps at night. And of course we all know that elephant purr, so to speak, that low rumble. And often first time safari goers, first night sleeping in a tent, well, a tent's oh, don't fall off the edge there, little one. A tent is a bit of exaggeration. It was a massive canvas house, the lodges in Botswana. And uh-oh, look at that. Clever. Getting down on the knee to get to those succulent little new shoots. And the first time safari goes, look at that. He's got it. Come on. There we go. Well done. First time safari goers would often, when you went to fetch them in the morning from their rooms, take them through for tea and coffee before morning game drive, they would say, "You're not going to believe it, but the lions were right outside our tent last night, purring." And of course it was just the rumble of elephants. Lions don't purr, as we know. And this is one of the incredible things about Safari Live, is we are able to share our knowledge over such a wide base with all you incredible people who join us on these live safaris. Oh, look, there's another baby. I love it when they run. They look so silly. And I think in about 2 minutes we're going to be completely engulfed in elephants. And that's one of my favorite places to be, surrounded by a herd of elephants. No, I don't recognize this herd. Well, I haven't seen any very recognizable females from this herd yet. Like I said, we can't see all of them just yet. Oh, found asparagus. Yum, 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 yum. Wild asparagus. Gone. Down the gullet. That was the end of that asparagus. Oh, there's another one. Oh, roots and all. Oh, here comes the little one. Another tiny baby in this herd. Oh, you're going to get in trouble. So that's quite a young mother, and those are the terrible teens around there. So those, out of those 4 adult elephants there, 3 of those are young bulls, and only the female and the tiny baby there. See how she's shepherding it with all those nonsenses around. And at that age, it can be a little bit too boisterous for the babies. Oh, there we go. Mom just swacked him. Oh, look at this. We've got elephants in front of us, and we've got elephants behind us. As I said, we're about to get completely surrounded, and what a wonderful place to be. Oh, yes, you're very scary, Mrs. Sorry. Mrs. Now, James is wondering, why are baby elephants pink around the ears? Well, what happens is that means they've been born very recently, and they haven't got a suntan yet. They probably lose that pinkness within the first month of being born. Let's just, where'd that little one go? Let's see if we can see that tiny little one. There it is there. Let's just move a little bit. Now, I don't know this herd. I don't recognize any of the individuals, so very important, when I start the vehicle, I let it run for a few seconds, and I don't want to be making any fast or loud movements with the vehicle, although I'm pretty certain this is a nice relaxed herd, and one must always respect, even if it's a herd you know. They might have had a bad day, there might have been a death, there might have been a must bull that was causing trouble. So even though it could be a herd we normally can sit right next to, it's always very important to show respect. Go slowly and just watch the different behavior of the elephants. Now we're going to go across quickly to Jamie, because I think there's something crawling all about on her.
There's nothing like reaching up to brush what you thought was hair away from your ear, only to feel it crawling along the lobes of your ear. I have absolutely no idea what I'm looking at because I can't see it, really. And despite my incredible abilities of observation, this is one thing that is going to absolutely defeat me. It's on my hat now. Oh, how wonderful. That's much more convenient than my ear. That would explain why the tremendous tickle. Oh, it's gone. Oh, that's terrible. I was hoping we were going to be able to identify it. I remember these from childhood. We used to collect them when we were kids. We used to go and catch them off the flowers. And we didn't hurt them. We just used to gather them all together. And the name escapes me now. I'm very glad it's not a blister beetle, though. And that yellow coloration can often be, an indication of something that is dangerous. So, for example, the twin spot beetles and the blister beetles that secrete the horrible acid that is capable of burning your skin, they carry warnings just like that, bright yellow and black colors. Now this one I think is it's a mimicker, so it's not actually dangerous. Its coloration is just built to mimic those things like the ground beetles. Of course, I will get home and read up on it and find out that they actually secrete an incredibly painful acid, at which point I will be very grateful that it didn't deposit it in my ear. Somehow I feel that would have been most unpleasant. Have a look at the finest detail on its antenna. Almost feathered. It is actually really truly a marvel of nature. Thank you for not climbing into my ear. Oh, we're going off and we're gone. Very, very cool. It seems to be attracted to Gendre, actually. It keeps flying back straight towards him. It's going to come and get you, Gendre. It's aiming for your ear next. All right, let's take one last look at Tingana. We are going to have to pull out to make some room for some of the other vehicles. So we're going to be pulling out in the not too distant future. And we just thought we'd stop, have a quick look at him. I'm glad we managed to find him. Hopefully on the Sunset Safari we will be able to find him once again, if he doesn't move too far. But we are going to have to make space for some of the other vehicles. Not just yet, we've got 2 minutes and then we're going to leave. Thank you, Mr. T. Look at that dainty paw. Morning. One of my favorite things to do whenever guests arrive at a leopard sighting or any sighting, but particularly when you can see that they're new ones, is to watch the joy on their faces when they first spot that animal. It's one of my favorite things to watch out here, because of course half of our joy in this entire world is being able to share it with other people. So being able to see that facial expression as their face lights up and they realize perhaps their guides kept it a secret from them, or perhaps they didn't realize exactly what they were going to see, is nothing like that expression of joy. I love it. And amazement. And yes, it disappears slightly with seasoned safari goers, but never completely. There's always a light in the guest's eyes when they pull into a sighting like this. Okay, Sleepy, I think it's time for us to leave you. If you would be so kind as to remain sleeping there until the Sunset Safari, that would be very convenient. We didn't get back to the Nkuhumas this morning as I had planned, but that's the way things always go. It just goes to show it's never really worth actually even having a plan, because the wildlife of this area is going to completely turn it topsy-turvy. that we're going to move out and we're going to return to the person or to the people that were actually in a large part responsible for this leopard sighting.
So isn't that wonderful? You got to see that beautiful male leopard, and I think that was the male leopard that, or the leopard at least that we heard. Remember, I said we weren't sure if it was a male or female. We didn't have any tracks, but it was not far from where we were. And I think what happened is that male must have seen us, turned around, and he headed back in the direction that we actually came. We just missed him. We didn't see him. But it's wonderful that Jamie got to see him and show you. That is really, really great. We've had a great morning. Not too much else has been going on. We've been kind of heading back to camp, but it was wonderful to follow that honey guide straight to the beehive and to see basically what it was wanting us to find. And luckily it wasn't a black mamba. As I said, I think it's a bit of a myth. I'm not sure. I don't know if it does happen, but we will be careful from now on because we didn't give it any honey or get any bees. We're actually not too far from that Karula sighting. I don't want to disturb it. I'm not going to head over there. There are still some vehicles in that area trying to view the youngsters that are still around there. So it's all been happening this morning. Leopards and lions, and there's a lot going on. And Brent got to show you those wonderful elephants. I'm very jealous. I do wish that I had seen some elephant on foot today, but unfortunately not. We heard them, but couldn't find them. So, what a great morning. I really enjoyed the walk, and I hope you did too. Saw some really interesting little things, little creatures and insects. So from myself and VM on camera, thank you VM, thanks very much, and Herbert as always. We'll see you this afternoon. Have a wonderful day everybody. Let's head back to Brent and see what he has got. Bye bye.
3, 2, 1, you're live.
So we've just tried to position to get another view of that gorgeous little baby. He's just behind a bush now. And some of the elephants in this herd are not looking super relaxed. So I'm just keeping our distance a little bit, and I'd rather let them come to us than us try force our presence on them. Now, you can just make him out through there. That's the little one there. Oh, he's going behind the bush a bit more. But the rest of the herd's crossing behind us. Oh, there's a little one who looks like it might be stalking up to us. Ah, we caught you. Yeah, you thought we didn't see you. Naughty, naughty. They are just such wonderful creatures. Absolutely fascinating creatures as well. I mean, the biggest mammal in the world, the African elephant. Yes, you are. One day, maybe. That little girl, so still got quite a bit of growing to do. So she's probably 12 or 13, maybe a little bit younger. Just making sure we know who's boss. Oh, come on, little one. Move out to where we can see you, tiny baby. Is he having another nap on the ground? It does look like he's having a nap. Let me just try and move a little bit further forward. Yes, I know you're very big and tough and in charge. I'll even give you the opportunity to... I'll move away so you'll think you're winning and chasing me. See, you won. Oh, he's up again now, the little guy. But just sticking close to Mom. Exploring this amazing world around him. Doesn't have to worry about feeding because obviously Mom is supplying milk for him. Oh, sure. So sweet. Look at this. She's actually moving towards us. So again, as I keep saying, it's... Oh, look at that. She's moving that dead branch so she can get to the fresh green grass underneath, giving her lots of nice nutrients to produce milk for that little bundle of joy. And speaking of milk, little one is after some milk. Thirsty, thirsty. Just a very, very tender little moment here between an elephant and her calf. Now she's carried that for 22 months. Oh, and the lovely bird calls on the edge of the Moati River. We hear that, a southern boo-boo. Definitely one of the best vocalizers we get here on Djuma. Oh, shake your head. At this age, they stick very close to Mom, and it looks like Mom's coming close to us now. So it's very important just to stay calm and keep still. Look at this, it's right next to us. Hi, Littly. Oh, you are just too cute. See, there's still a fine layer of fuzz on his back. You can actually see it with the light the way it is there now. There we go, a very young little one. That's just so special. I'm not going to move the car, even though we can't see any other elephants now. I don't want to give that mom a fright and give her any negative ideas or reactions from vehicles. So I'm just going to keep still till she moves a little bit further away. And we can see some more elephants in the distance, though. You see them there, eggs. As I said, it looks like quite a large herd and quite spread out as well. Okay, Mom's moved a little bit. I'm just going to turn the car around. Again, always let the vehicle run, watch her reaction, see that there's no sign of a negative reaction, and then we move. And Mom's having a bit of a dust bath. And baby's having a drink. Well, from a great grey beast here on Djuma, it sounds like Jamie's got a small grey beast, and I'm hoping she's got a very special surprise, and if she does, I'm very, very jealous. But from the Egbert and myself, what an incredible morning. Lion, leopard, elephant, and we haven't gone more than a kilometre from camp. So let's go back to Jamie for the last few minutes of drive.
No brand new little warties, but definitely an adorable looking family of the palest, I don't know what it is, the palest family of warthog I have ever seen in my entire life. I don't know what they've been rubbing in, perhaps they found a pile of ash somewhere, but they do look unbelievably pale in colour. Perhaps they just haven't been in mud over the last few days. And there we go, this is last year's piglets. They are probably now close to about 9-10 months old. The tusks just starting to pop through. I always wonder about that. I always wonder if it actually is uncomfortable for them. It must be. It must be like teething, just worse. But this mommy pig, mommy warthog, has done an amazing job of managing to keep 3 of her youngsters alive. And the mortality rate is exceptionally high for little piglets. You're looking at one very good warthog mother. It has somehow managed to keep them all together. Interestingly enough, one of them is much smaller than the other 2, the one on the left. It's one of my favorite things about warthogs. It's the hair on either side of their cheeks when they're little. Like they've got big scary tusks, but they don't really. What a wonderful way to finish off what has been a fantastic sunrise safari, sitting with a family of one of my favorite animals to sit and watch, with their long eyelashes and their bristly skin. There's something exceptionally appealing about warthog. I don't think they are ugly at all. I think that's why she's smaller. It's a little female. Just trying to figure that one out. One last mystery for the duration of our sunrise safari. So, what an exciting sunrise safari it has been. Warthogs, honey guides, lions, elephants, leopards. Definitely a good way to spend a Sunday morning. I could do this pretty much every Sunday morning. How do you feel, Jean-Andre? Yeah, it's a good way. It is Sunday, right? Yes, it is. It is. It is a good way to spend a Sunday morning. And it's also exciting prospects for this afternoon's sunset safari. Tingana hopefully still be around. Karula will. The lions most definitely will. All in all, it's several very good reasons to come back and join us in a few short hours. Oh, a big thank you to Jean-Andre for his wonderful camera work, as always. Well done, Jean-Andre. And actually, bravo to Jean-Andre for spotting the tracks crossing Triple M. A round of applause for you there, Jean-Andre. It was well spotted. To Rebecca and to Lou in final control, and most importantly, to all of you watching wherever you happen to be in the world, I hope that you have had fun on your sunrise safari and that you will be joining us again on the sunset safari. Bye-bye, everybody, and have a lovely day further.